To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Move to Article 3, approve the current agenda. So moved. Support. Moved by Member Rissy, supported by Member Engel. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Right here, let's go to Article 4. Does anybody wish to disclose any conflict of interest? Either we all have one or none of us have any. No. Okay. Let's go to Article 5, approve the minutes from the October 2nd meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
Article 8, third paragraph from the bottom.
Okay.
It says, second sentence says, Knight did not believe that would not be a problem. And I'm thinking it's kind of a double negative the way it's written, but.
I have Knight stated they have not had problems with other facilities.
Third paragraph from the bottom.
From Article 8.
On Article 8, at the very bottom of Article 8, third one up. Does Member Ritzky asked if there would be an issue with pathway easement?
So Knight believed that would not be an issue.
Yeah, I think we got a double
Okay.
negative.
Okay.
Clean that up a little, I think.
Any other changes? Okay, we get a motion with that amendment. Your support? Support. Support from Member Northwood. Motion originally made by Member Rissy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Here, none opposed. Awesome. Okay. I don't think we have any visitors in the room. We do have a new manager present, so perhaps he can introduce himself and tell us about us. And then we'll let Ryan speak, because he can speak twice, once at the beginning and once at the end. He has sent me some notes, which was kind of him, but since he's not here, he can't participate as a member, but he can participate as a resident. So, but let's hear from our new manager first.
Good evening. No, some of you. It's a pleasure meeting some of you, but some I have not. So, my name is Jay Smith, new township manager. Started about 4 weeks ago. Definitely a lot going on in Cascade. I'm very excited about the opportunity. And just to give you a little about myself, I have been in municipal government for the last 20 years, all in Metro Detroit region, mostly Wayne County. So things are definitely different in Wayne County than they are in Kent County, but I'm looking forward to the change over here. And other than that, I apologize, I do a hard stop at 6:45 tonight, but looking forward to working with you guys all as a board and seeing what projects are out there. And I know we're in the middle of the master plan, and we've got some things on the DDA, the village area, so some very exciting times. Looking forward to jumping in.
Welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you, board.
I hope we're all done at 6:45.
Yeah.
Canton, right? You came from Canton?
I most recently came from Canton Township, and then before that I was with the city of Milan, which is actually in Washtenaw County. Yep. And then before that, the city of Westland.
I live in Northland, or Northfield, so not far.
Oh, okay, yeah, yep.
So, during the 80s, Canton had so many houses going up, the inspectors could just drive by, like they wouldn't stop.
It was still that way.
Yeah, I'm maybe making that up.
Yeah, 16,000 permits last year.
Yeah.
Isn't the high school like the size of a typical university?
Which one?
It's 3 high schools and it's campus.
I'm surprised it's not built out. I'm surprised it's not built out.
They got about 6 years. Yeah. When I left, I think they were on their last 400 acres of the last big parcel on the west side, and I think someone was already back on that. They're done. So awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Member Bernal, would you like to say anything before we move forward?
Should be able to speak now. Oh, he isn't. He has himself muted.
I think I'm good. I appreciate you letting me listen in.
So when I have your note, I'll bring it up when we get to that section. Thank you for that. Awesome. What I'd like to do for Article 7 is kind of suspend our procedures and just make this a working session. So no formal having to go to the chairperson or anything like that. And I'm going to turn it over to our colleague.
first things first, I'm Alan Rowland, nice to meet you. So, I don't know if anybody else hasn't met him, but.
I should have assumed that was first, so yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, now they know who Alan is.
Yeah,
I should have started that.
I'm sure that was done intentionally.
No.
So welcome.
Thank you.
We're expecting big things. Unfortunately, you have small shoes to fill.
He's aware.
So, but we're excited to have you.
Recorded.
I don't care.
Guys, we need a park in Kent County, so we don't just think about the parks.
And we should get into that pizza too before it gets cold. So I don't know if we.
Yeah, I think we're informal at this point.
Right, so I
want to stand up.
Do you want to start? Alan, Scott, let's start.
Scott wanted to introduce himself, didn't you?
God knows.
No, you don't.
And that's Scott.
I'm Scott
Scott
Ritchie.
probably already had 5.
I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you.
We got 7 subcommittees.
Who have you met?
Just you. Okay. Just in the hallway, so it's awesome.
Cool. Welcome aboard. I heard great things from Timmy.
Mr. Chairman, are there paper plates around or?
Oh,
I couldn't see them. They're behind the manager.
Carry on. Paper plates are not for you. That's for everybody else.
Well, wait a minute. The Hawaiian, a barbecue chicken. Oh, Jeff, yeah. Thank you for cold today. So it's gonna be-
Yeah,
Right,
Monday.
Monday.
That's right, I can't hold that against you then.
It does say temporary. It's not permanent.
Yeah.
Sorry, all the floor is yours.
All right, Daniel, what's our order of operations tonight? What do we focus on first?
So I think the majority of our discussion that we had, actually, let me back up first. So what we did, what the changes are on this map versus the map that we had talked about last month. First of all, I included the park target areas that we had discussed, with, in particular, with the area surrounding, for that little cutout, of Quail Ridge Golf Course, and then the, area on the top, or sorry, the north, east portion of the township, where there's that yellow area there, for a potential park target area. So those are 2 changes that have been made. I also adjusted the utility service boundaries per our discussions last week, or last month. And so it encompasses essentially, from the northernmost boundary of the township, the westernmost boundary, from 96 down, and then the westernmost boundary is, the easternmost boundary is Buttrick, as we had also discussed. So the majority of this discussion this evening will be first to kind of go through and validate what we had talked about from last month, which I'm hoping is completely incorporated into this newest draft, and then kind of talk through the logistics and more of a deeper dive into these new designations, with kind of picking up where we left off when last month we were discussing like building heights and different densities and units per acre and appropriate land uses for these particular districts. Most notably those that are within close proximity to 28th Street, the redevelopment mixed use category, Centennial mixed use category, the Cascade Village category, and Boulevard mixed use category. So we also want to ensure that we have a clear defined area of what that Cascade Village is, and just kind of creatively moving forward through these initial draft ideas. And then lastly, we had talked about farmland preservation tools, and if there's any updates from our farmland group, our farmland folks who are representing that committee, if there's any updates from that standpoint, that would be nice to know as well. We can kind of talk through what that might mean for the farmland preservation district as well as the rural preservation district. So we did bring this like large map here if anyone wants a closer view on the parcel by parcel, because I can understand that 11 by 17 might be a little bit difficult to see in those small parcels that are within the village area. So here's this for your reference. Throughout this process, I'd be happy to put this somewhere where it's more readily accessible.
Can I bring you 2 points that Ryan sent me ahead of
Yeah,
this
of
meeting?
course.
I want to make sure we get these on record. He said, I thought that we agreed to no utilities south of I-96. If you look at kind of like the really public, semi-public zone, we have utilities outlined there. Now, I think that may be we have it going to 48. I don't recall if we said, hey, we're going to bring it to 48, or if we're going to use Thornapple as our.
I thought the discussion was to bring it south to 48, but if I misunderstood that, that's
I think he's.
totally fine.
Yeah, I agree with, Ryan. I feel like the bottom border was
Thornapple.
no.
96, yeah.
Okay.
Is there any potential need to get sewer to that park?
I mean, if you're an industrial builder trying to build a tent city, there's absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of need for
But not for anything that they.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
so much
No,
area
I'm saying-
between that point and the north that doesn't have sewer that if sewer got a little closer, maybe at that point we have the conversation of extending it, but until sewer is around the river, north of 96, I see no reason to be dreaming of it.
It's not near the boundary.
It's nowhere even close.
I do have did Ryan have another question that you wanted to say? Were there two things that he
So
said?
that was the first thing. It sounds like we're in agreement on. He said he also thought that we were missing the airport safety zones for the proposed north commercial runway. And I'm asking, I
I
thought,
think that's
To
what that is.
go through like that maple crest.
yeah, I think that's what that is, but I don't know if it changes or gets wider. See how this is wider right here?
Yeah.
Did you pull that off the airport plan? So that would be a plan that would have incorporated that north, east-west runway already?
But that
It should.
east-west is gonna get it's gonna get larger than it is today. And so we need to
They
look
may not
at,
have published that.
I don't
Because
know.
I don't know that it's technically designed that runway yet. right?
And I don't know. I just wanna, I wanna validate that because Casey made such a big deal of it when he was here. If they have, just double check.
Yeah,
If they have, Daniel, cool. If not, cool too.
I think that airport plan that the township has, Brian, the year is 2021 in that, isn't it? Or is
Their
it?
most recent.
Okay, and that was the one you had sent over, is that correct? Okay.
Brian, I'd even ask Casey just so that he could down this side crosses.
And just show him your straps. Just show him the strap.
Yeah. The airport flyer. And it was all over us on making sure that was in our master. They were trying to use that as a.
We don't really have a choice not to, once they incorporate their safety zone, but we don't, it's just gonna be.
It's gonna be in print. I just wanna make sure we relate it so that it's not something they can throw at us.
And we'll just copy paste whatever they have on there.
Exactly.
And I have to commend you guys on this map, because this is the first, public meeting we've had in a very long time where we actually have all the parks on the map. I saw you shaded McGraw Park, and never really spent any time in McGraw Park, but it seems like it's always left off the map, and it's there today. So I noticed that you did that, so I just wanted to highlight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That might be a Regis thing, because that's where we get all our data from.
Yeah, they're not real good at updating that, because years ago, Tackle Park for years has been drawn, or was drawn incorrectly, and we tried to get that shaded correctly, or shading 3 private property parcels on the end of it, and nobody seems to listen over there. Well, I don't know if it ever did get fixed, it might have just been we gave up, but, yeah. So I acknowledge, I acknowledge that you took time to get it.
Oh, well, thank you, I appreciate that. I also,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Is this an appropriate time to ask like a few random questions or make comments about the map? I don't mean to sound argumentative about making them about say either. I just have. Oh, boy.
So the response is, no, it's not.
Okay. No, I thought, just out of curiosity or maybe misunderstanding this. At one point, through the yellow circles here, the park target areas, I remember at one point there was a few additional ones, like for example, maybe over by McCourt's and 52nd, like the far southeast quadrant of our township. There was one at one point. It's not here now. And I think that is an area of our township that has 0 parks at all whatsoever. there's a lot of, current farmland out there that might not always be farmland. So to me, like, that's a great, in my opinion, at least, target area. And then,
If I might ask a clarification question on that.
Sure.
So when you say at one point there was, is that?
at one point, like, through the draft, just the map constantly shifting and changing.
In our iterative process or a previous one?
I don't remember. I just remember seeing a circle there and thinking, that's great.
Could have been. He's referring to the public input process.
Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah,
Maybe that makes the cut.
I think it makes good sense. The southeast side of our township gets the least amount of attention on most resources.
And then I was gonna ask about the yellow, suburban residential section. So when you notice that the utility service boundary ends at Buttrick, is there like a reason why the suburban residential doesn't also end going eastward from Buttrick? Like instead it goes to Cherry, it looks like. Like why wouldn't that still be farmland preservation or rural preservation?
I think the parcel on the east side of Buttrick, we should talk about this, but if there's going to be water and sewer in Buttrick, you can serve both sides of the street. So you catch the parcels on the east side of Buttrick.
Okay.
But then you're right, there's another, the rest of the way to Cherry is an open question, particularly the large parcels north of Cascade Road.
Yeah.
There may be some reason to include the small parcels along the Cascade Road corridor. Again, small parcels near water, there's the possibility they need sewer to avoid septic overflows, right? It's not for growth, it's for protection of water. And that's why I asked about that Hardwick neighborhood, but that would be one possibility. Or maybe we need to just designate a couple of spots that like, we're not going here for growth, but we're not stopping. We have to bail out these subdivisions because their septic systems start to fail in that situation.
Got a long way to go before we go over there.
Yeah, and that's true. And if you're not there, you're not there.
So we're not even south of 30th Street.
Yeah.
So,
and then to me, and I mentioned this to you earlier, like, I think this map is pretty great in general. I just want to start with that, but we often see these maps where the dark green, public, semi-public, just at a glance, like if you were just to glance at this without reading the legend, the dark green seems like public park. But we also include things like the cemetery at 52nd and Craft, not a park, or the cemetery at Patterson and 28th, just any cemetery really.
But they are parks.
Well,
and the key on here says,
I understand what you're saying, but they are, and I agree, but they are parks.
Could we set?
I guess my point though is it makes it look like we have a lot more public parkland, and my kids aren't going to go play at 52nd and Craft in that little cemetery surrounded by factories. So for sure
They will.
the key doesn't say park, it's a public space.
You're correct. I guess maybe just the color makes it seem like park.
I like the idea of like making cemeteries a different color.
I don't think we have an objection to that.
No.
And there is a practical planning thing we need to do here with golf courses. Right, we talked about this one meeting. And that's that they are not public parks, and they may not be golf courses forever, and we maybe should pull them out of that designation and call them something else so we can articulate what we want them to be, which may be public park in some day because it's already green space. Thornapple Point's probably not going anywhere because it's in the airport safety zone. It doesn't have sewer and water, and it's it's a golf course right now.
And it belongs to the airport.
And it's also.
Yeah, and at least a chunk of it belongs to the airport, the western half or something like that. But yeah, so Thornapple Point maybe isn't going anywhere, but what we see a lot of times with golf courses is, and this was more true before the pandemic with the golf renaissance that happened with COVID, right? But before the pandemic, lots and lots of golf owners were shopping that land around who wanted it for housing developers, right? So if you said golf course in your future land use map, a developer was gonna show up and say, I'm building something here, whether it says golf course or not, because my land, right? So you might wanna have something planned out now. Again,
Could
Thornapple
we,
Point, probably not happening, but Quail Ridge maybe.
yeah, could we make that yellow park target area at Quail Ridge larger? Like, right now, it looks like it's just encircling the part that's not the golf course, you know what I mean? We could circle the whole golf course, essentially.
Can't see that.
And then that becomes, if it's not our plan, if it's not a golf course, it should be public green space.
Yeah.
That's what the plan.
The other question I
So-
have is, the rural preservation by the airport. Could we make that a park target area as well?
Yeah, so I recall from the way that we had initially was the airport greenway idea, which we had talked about last month, which was essentially that. Because like majority of that land is publicly owned anyway. But I think that, you know, we could change that to some, like, either put, circle that area as a park target area and leave it as just hatching.
Yeah.
Or we could keep it as the, rural preservation and then remove the hatching and then put the park target area around that.
I'm also, curious about some of the land that Forest Hills Public Schools owns. There's two parcels in my mind. So at Cascade and Burton, right at the corner, is their current administration building, but they're moving over near the Fine Arts Center. They're building that building right now. So I'm not sure what if they're planning on selling it or not. But if they are,
We have first right of refusal.
That should be,
Right.
that should be circled.
And then the same thing over on Buttrick by, I think it's south of Bolt. So they own a parcel there that's projected to be their next elementary school, but that's been a long time vacant. So I can see how the current elementary schools, like Pine Ridge is full, it's at capacity. So if they were to grow, that's a great spot to put the next elementary school. But if they never do, like, we want to buy that and merge that in with the Peace Park rather than let someone develop that. Because it butts right up to the Peace Park, basically, off of Buttrick. I don't have the address memorized, but it's south of Bolt on Buttrick. I mean,
On the east side of Buttrick?
yeah.
Almost
So
truly.
maybe we need to, that's right at the edge of, right at the edge of the urban services boundary, maybe we need to pull the urban services boundary back in and designate it as farmland preservation, understanding that schools are exempt from zoning anyway. If they want to go there, they can figure it out.
It is, I think it is that corner one that is farmland right now. That's
Oh, but
the-
then I guess I'm looking at
Yeah.
the parcel then.
That's the
The triangle looking thing, right? There's a triangle looking lot.
The one on,
No,
the one on Buttrick, that
it's
large
a little bit
rectangle.
farther south.
It's that large rectangle there. The very,
Right.
Just south of the
But
boundary.
it's like a long, thin parcel.
Yes, it
South of the urban services.
Yep,
Okay, I was
yeah.
looking at the parcel just north. This is more square. Okay.
If I may, at the corner, of the southeast corner of 28th and Patterson, which would be the left side of the map. I think it's called Rail Gardens or something, I don't know, there's a cemetery there. And we show that as public, semi-public, but that's a privately owned cemetery, it's not township owned. So I don't know that it should be shaded with those public lands. Does anybody have a different opinion?
Well, like the
on
golf
that?
I agree
courses are
with you.
too, though, so, and those are private, or privately owned anyway.
I don't disagree.
Golf courses are much more likely to change than a cemetery.
Well, if it's open to the public, then it's.
I still think the cemetery.
But there are public cemeteries, and then this is like a
Yeah,
private.
I guess I kind of feel that, that's what you want, but I'm disagreeing.
I agree
you
with
call it private open space, and then you're not allowing new uses. It stays as a type of open space for the golf course. or
Well, it is
cemetery.
a cemetery,
But if we designate
cemeteries, it can stay there.
Yeah, it can be designated as a cemetery, that would be fine, I don't want to create the confusion that it's a township cemetery when it's not, and if gated at certain times, so you say it's public space, or, I don't know.
I agree, we're gonna create a different,
I think
color
private
for
cemetery.
category.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
for a
those are
zoning
private
perspective, it doesn't matter if it's public
Okay.
or private, it's changing the actual.
And that's fine, we go on that road, that's all.
Yeah, and in the text, we can put something in there like, this encompasses both public and private cemeteries or something like that.
And the cemeteries are never gonna change, even the private ones, the state basically. If you start a private cemetery, the state will not let you do it.
Right.
For obvious
really small tweak here, but the Tuffy building and the site building are publicly owned, and they're either a target for expansion or they're going to be part of the park. And right now, they're designated as part of Cascade Village. They're under lease. I don't know whether that impacts that, or we should reflect that as some other different future land use, whether it's in 2 years or 10.
That is gonna become part of the park. at
Yes.
some point.
Yeah, I would just make it green. I mean, if
Yeah.
this is all about future, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Unlike the park target areas, it's going down.
So change that to green.
It's not, hey, maybe in the future.
You know, there's 2 lots that are next to each other there.
Yeah,
You can barely make them out here, but if you just get the vertical between Cascade Road and Green, you'll be there.
Do you wanna put that in green or just put that to park target area?
Well, it's not, it's
Yeah,
probably.
we're just turning it green.
Is it?
Our future, we own, yeah.
Is there also a parcel like on the east side, like about 3 or 4 properties down,
It is.
small, but
Well, so on the old master plan, we said all those properties that's green, because that was an ultimate goal, was to acquire more properties along the Beaver riverfront part.
Is that still the desired? No. So then we should probably just.
Didn't get it from me though.
Yeah, no.
You were on the camera.
Yeah, you are the representative. Okay.
Ordinarily, we will not recommend.
Right, but I don't think we, I think we may want to sell it.
We would just leave it as.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
why?
I can't answer it.
So
That's what I get.
Well, it's just like Wycliffe isn't shaded. There's no shading for public area.
Well, that's one we should know.
We should, that's a public park.
so small you can't see.
Well, that's the other question. We've been talking about, pocket parks, so we want some target areas for pocket parks.
I don't know if we need to get into that detail with the future
Fair
land
enough.
use.
Throwing it out there.
just so I'm clear, do we so is it the Tucky property and the adjacent?
Yes.
That's
It's
correct?
everything up the
Okay.
River Drive,
Okay.
these parks.
That's publicly,
Yes, yep, okay,
Anything that's, yeah.
eventually will be.
yes, okay.
So let's go back to Quail Ridge and clarify to me what you're doing there.
With regard to, like, when we remove the public, semi-public.
Yeah, I don't want a developer walking in tomorrow.
Weren't we gonna keep it semi and then just enlarge the park circle with the whole property? Is what we had said, so. Showing us.
Unless we create a golf courses designation, and then for the text, look, township understands we may not have golf courses forever, but we do want them to be open space forever.
So to me,
So the plan is for them to convert to public or something, if they're not private golf courses.
I like
Something
that.
that-
Making a circle around each one and saying that that's future land use for potential parks. And then if the golf course, kicks over and that prevents what happened at the Centennial Park Golf Course to happen there, right? I mean, it gives us a way, when they come in and ask for PUD to redevelop it, we can say, well, it's future land use as park space, and you're proposing 18 apartment buildings. We're a little ways apart.
How does that prevent the
I think it gives,
I don't know if it prevents them, but we use it at a minimum at the bargaining chip.
yeah, it gives us a way to say, you know, we got to see more open space in here than building space. Because it's future land use as park, not as. Lots of
It's
park.
also outside the urban services boundary. You can say, we're not extending that.
So you basically want to build a wall. No new people.
No, I want a lot of people to come back.
So, do
You got a
you,
lot of development out there already.
is this like a feasible approach for the township in the future? Like, so for example, if we encircle all of the golf courses to say the township would eventually like to acquire this land to be parkland, is that like, is that too much for the township to take on, I guess is what I'm wondering? Is there gonna be some sort of like alarm bell, I suppose, that's set off from that of like, whoa, the township's gonna take on 200 more acres of parkland?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it like that. I would just say the township wants to see these areas as open space or park space,
Sure.
or recreational use. I wouldn't say the township wants to own them and acquire them. We want them as you know, essentially want them to stay what they are.
Potentially protected open spaces.
And that's fine, I just wanted to food for thought is pose the question of the feasibility.
Somebody could come in and want to develop a different piece of property, and maybe they acquire that as open space.
I think there are board members who want more green space and would have no problem adding 200 acres to our park.
Okay, that's fine. I was just
Yeah,
wondering.
and
Or the
our
county
council
might.
would probably figure out a way to.
You know, guys.
The county might say, when you, a park in Cascade, and,
They don't
well, you
have
know,
one.
the golf course is for sale, we can buy that.
The county does not
But see,
have-
this is where I differ from you guys, because I think a golf
Right.
course is a perfect
Right.
place to put a nice housing development, another Tamaron, another Beard Farm, another Manchester. That golf course is a perfect spot for that.
It is,
High-end home.
but if you put on the future land use plan that you want it as open space or park, I think that gives us some flexibility in being able to say, you want to develop that? This is what we want it to be.
Okay.
As opposed to it being,
Trailer park.
well, I wouldn't.
Well, what's more profitable right now is the 200,000 to 300,000. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Like that,
Yeah. But that's what and I don't wanna see that, right?
Right.
But I also wanna see more developments like Cameron and Beard Farm and Oliver Woods and, you know, those great, and then green space is great, right? But
Yep.
we have, I mean,
Is there something to putting it in some sort of hatched yellow-green that said, and then say, look, we'll allow, how many is it, 100 acres around there? We'll allow 100 homes, 1 per acre, but you have to preserve, we say, you know,
1 for 2 acres.
for 2 acres. That's fine. I'm just saying, we give a number or a range and say, look, you can have this many homes and the rest of the site has to be preserved. That way there's monetary value to it. The developer comes in and you already articulated, this is what we want. We want on that site, we want high-end homes and no more than 50 of them.
yeah.
But I just want to avoid.
That far out in the future, in
Yeah.
terms of land use planning, in terms of how many homes, on what acreage.
Chris, would you get into that detail here, or would that be more zoning?
Well,
Yeah.
I'd get into, I'm using very specific numbers and I probably shouldn't be. But articulate some sort of range for density limit or net density limit, like less required open space, this is the density you
Or
get.
whatever.
Something like that.
Right now, the underlying zoning is 100,000 square feet, to 2.3 acres.
So my concern, I'd be concerned, if you guys wanna preserve that, you currently have zoning that by right allows 100,000 square foot acre, or 100,000 square foot lots. So someone came in, and they wouldn't need a PUD, they'd say, and they said, your zoning allows me to do 100,000 square foot lots, and I fit, however many would fit, 50 and 100 acres. And this is my plan, and you don't have the ability to stop me, because your zoning says I can do this.
But if our
So even if
future
it says
land
open
use says
space-
parks and open space, do we still have to accept
It's
that?
a PUD now, so they have to
They've
rezone.
changed PUD, so they don't have wide rights now.
Yeah, that's the underlying.
Well, okay, so that helps. But in general, if the zoning ordinance says you can do something, but your future land use says you can't, it's the zoning ordinance, the rules. The zoning ordinance is the law. But the master plan is just your vision.
It's what if you want to change, then you'll go to the master plan.
Yeah.
And then
So you,
future use.
so as a general rule, you don't want to future land use something for less than it's zoned for, because you'll never get that. You're only
We had the
gonna-
reciprocal then in our discussion about the airport property.
We did,
This
yeah.
is exactly the.
Yeah.
And the airport property with some of the industrial that I'm not actually sure you could actually build out as industrial, and you guys have already dialed some of that back in zoning anyway. Right.
So the 3 golf courses that we have, are they all 3 PUDs?
I believe so. Actually, Thornapple Point isn't, that's just ARC.
So that could be, so that's ARC today, so they have to put farming in there if they replace that.
Or it has that minimum lot size of 2.3 acres. But again, part of that, airport or county owned now,
Right.
zones, that was.
So we don't have to worry, so perhaps the golf course issue is too big a concern, there's PUDs, right?
If they're PUDs, that does help.
If they're gonna develop a golf course on the side of the pond, it's gonna break it.
Well, except if a plane's gonna fly over your house 50 times a day,
Well, you're limited, because the airport's probably not gonna.
and the
sell that.
airport won't let you do it at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, they would keep their half, or they have their 9-foot pipe.
Yeah.
So
I actually don't think the airport will allow residential there, period.
But the part that they could develop is, yeah, I guess some of that's still in that area.
Southern portion.
Cause that whole peninsula, that's all privately owned.
We have case studies. We want to go there and circle back to this because we had some, yeah, we had some significant concerns, I think, on 28th Street in terms of density and how you grant that.
Yeah, so that, case study memorandum, is essentially just photos that I took from other areas in Michigan to kind of get a feel of the type of development that you guys had in mind and what you would like to see along the 28th Street corridor as we're planning into the future. Keep in mind too that like each of those photos kind of designates like a different key thing to note, whether it be mixed uses or multi-story mixed uses, or one case study had an example of a housing development that had like 2 stories along the frontage, and then as you get further back, there were higher stories. So, you know, just kind of note that each of those photos were picked out for different reasons. I just, you know, with regard to density, note of setbacks and, you know, different design elements and architectural design and things like that.
And we can also look at these dynamically on the computer if you guys want. We try to choose busy suburban corridors. They're all in Michigan. Not all of them are like a one-for-one comparison to you guys, but they're all busy suburban corridors like 28.
I think I just like the idea of more cars. Does anybody hearing what you're saying though?
Anybody have concerns? Where's everybody's thoughts on the height restrictions? I think that was one of our issues.
2 stories. I'm good with 2 stories. 3 stories looks trashy. I just drove through downtown even today, and I was like,
It's really changed. And continues to.
Are you speaking of in the village area, or are you speaking?
Along 28th Street.
No,
Oh, yeah, there's a.
in Ada.
That was the comparison.
You're talking.
I'm asking 28th Street corridor from Patterson down to St. Craft.
I hate the Drury. I mean, I hate that 7-story hotel monstrosity.
We're not gonna have 7 stories though. I mean, 3's a lot different than 7.
But I think we can all agree that, you know, East Terrace and Kentwood is not what we're shooting for, right? Like that, we're not trying to become like Kentwood. We're trying to slow that process down or avoid becoming like
Big,
Kentwood.
massive medical buildings.
Let's go deeper there. What don't you like about, and I don't have perspective on this. What don't you like? Let's talk about that, and that's what we can make sure we keep out. Like, detail, like, what don't you like about East Paris and 28th Street? Is it how close it is? Is it the height? Is it?
It just seems like Texas with no zoning
Okay.
at all. Like it's a church next to
So
a
it's
bar,
the design
next to an
elements?
apartment building, next to a house, next to a factory.
So a lot, is it the design elements too?
It's both. I
Okay.
think it's the design elements, but in general, just it seems like at some point, and I can't speak to this like factually.
Sure.
It would seem like at some point, way back in history, people that were in charge of Kentwood said, anything goes, the more development, the better, no matter what it is, no matter where it is. And obviously, we want to take a more thoughtful approach to that for our township.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't just look.
The setbacks drive me
Hodgepodge.
crazy.
Yeah.
The setbacks drive me crazy. I think it's stuff way too close to the
Or the
street.
lack of,
Right.
There's
And,
a lack of flow.
right.
But I also, I guess like partially, I
Yeah.
guess what I also mean is just like the size. So I mean, I've mentioned this before, I know maybe too many times now, but being situated right in between Kentwood and Lowell, you know, how fast do we turn into Kentwood?
Yeah.
And how long can we stay sort of like Lowell? I mean, for lack of a better comparison. To me, there's no rush to become like Kentwood in any way.
Well, and like you said, this is prime property, right? And it's prime property because we're limiting growth, we're tough, we're stringent, right? We're not Kentwood, we're not Lowell, right? And, you know, I like the flow. Gaslight Village, that's what I want Cascade to be like, Gaslight Village. And if Ada wasn't 3 stories, I want it to be Ada.
Does everybody have this in front of them?
Yeah.
Go to the Novi, Michigan, that one I kind of like. setbacks, there's design elements to it.
Yeah. I've actually been there.
So this particular development, has anyone been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is on the corner of Grand River and 12 Mile, right off of 96.
Mhm.
And this is what you see on the front, but your parking lots and everything are on the inside. So you access all the businesses. So this is more of like a facade and a look and feel to your corridor.
Is that similar to like Center Point? Because I've not been there, so.
I would compare, I would say you take Center Point and you do a better job with what side the face of the actual street.
Closer to the street.
This
Well,
actually, you,
I don't bet they're about the same distance back from the street, but on Center Point, those outlots have a sidewalk, and then there's just like grass and maybe the gas meter, and then unmarked door with no handle, and a sign, right? And that's what faces 28th Street. What Novi did very successfully is they took what is actually the back end of that building, because it faces in towards the parking lot like the Center Point, and made it look nice. And
it actually is a look and feel in downtown. You know,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, 5 lanes, 6 lanes of traffic going in either, you know.
And that's not my story. No, the parking on the inside.
Jay, what's your perspective on this, you know, kind of an outsider right at this moment?
Yeah, I think as long as it's zoned correctly, I mean, I think two stories might be too low, especially when you've got some major highways and some major access going here, but you can control all of what it looks like by doing things of your zoning and then doing an overlay district, that's what I was asking Brian about. So I think you can build in what you want without having it turn into Kentwood and not having it, you know, turn into another thing that is not desirable.
Westland.
Or Westland, yes. And actually, that's a prime example, if anyone's been there. No one wants to be on the other side of the viaduct. Like, there is Canton where I came from, and there is a visible difference when you get off I-275 and you hang a right, and you see the streetscapes and the short walls and the brick and the fencing, and then you go over this concrete viaduct, and it is just a concrete jungle until you get basically to Dearborn. And then Dearborn did a whole different thing, and brought their buildings right to the Joe lot line, to the front of the road. So you can control all of it, and I think that's the intent. That's how we write the zoning. You guys are planners, but let me turn to you.
The hang up is on 2 stories versus 3 stories. Is there any advantage to saying if you want the 3rd story, then your setbacks are
That's what I was just thinking.
this?
You
If
go
you
back.
want 2 stories, then your setbacks are here.
And you can take, I know where I was just at, we only had a small portion off of the highway that actually was, I can't remember what it was selling, but I mean, it was a very small portion right off of the exit entrance ramps that could actually go higher than 4.
So like some kind of a circle radius type scenario around the exits?
That's what we have now,
Yeah,
with our
that's what we have.
expressway district allows slightly taller, just in that immediate.
That's all
Don't
true.
we have a bunch of business parks? I think we were talking about it, back here behind IHOP and,
Right after 28th Street, where they were focused on this new area.
yeah.
Higher building.
Yeah, and we got, and we can you can make those buildings bigger back there, cause they're tucked back in.
Well, it's because they're along the highway.
Right.
It's an
Right.
expressway service district, right?
Yeah.
And once the
We allow-
park allows a lot immediately.
Are you talking about here, what's labeled as star?
You know where IHOP is, right? Right here on Cascade, or not, on 28th Street here, like, right, just past the highway.
Kind of like across the street from Costco.
Yeah. So, right back in there, there's a whole big, complex back there. It's only a 2-story.
Is that the redevelopment mixed use in the?
That's an office.
Yeah. Right, and that's why we call that out that way. I think the comment that, hey, you don't like some things that happen in Kentwood, I would actually argue that triangle already looks like Kentwood, you don't like about Kentwood or worse.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I think part of our thinking was that may be the spot in the township where what's going on right there doesn't work. And it needs to be completely rethought. That's why we put it in the redevelopment color. You know, we can talk about other areas, put in the redevelopment color as well. Glenwood Hills on Craft, which we talked about, has some space in the back at the LMCU headquarters, or the building back there. But there's some space at the very back. There's like a cul-de-sac back there with nothing on it.
That's wetland, isn't it?
There's
No, there's a couple
2
lots.
buildable parcels, and then yes, you're in the wetland, which actually though is why we thought it would be an opportunity for residential, because you actually would live overlooking that nice wetland, right? And it is, to our mind anyway, extremely unlikely someone's gonna build an office building right there in this market. But very likely someone's gonna come in and say, I really want to do condos or apartments right there, but your zoning doesn't allow for it. So these are the opportunities we were trying to find. And if you want us to get more targeted, we can, but those are the two big ones to us, where either the existing conditions for the market may not be quite met by what's there. We also think there's a possibility to go a little higher because there's nothing around it except a freeway and a well.
I think that like with
And an
Star,
existing 3-4 story building.
that's where we can put our high density apartments. Then we can check the box that we did it. There's just this triangle right here.
And that's
96.
where the crime hotels are.
It's on the other side of the highway.
Yeah, but just.
Well,
the-
road-
Yeah, you're on, it's on,
This
it's on.
gold-
right?
this golden
I think it's the
triangle,
north side of Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's not
behind
hotels,
us,
right
right?
Yeah,
right here.
yeah, here.
Remember what the pot is?
You wanna use the?
Kramer's property.
Computer?
Cascade four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Full
Four-wheel drive.
map up here.
Yeah.
So Kramer family.
Yeah, behind the brewery and kind of back
Uh-huh.
in. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's segmented away.
Patterson, I
The
agree.
highway
Yeah.
protects it from being
Oh,
away.
you wanna just press remind me?
I understand what you
Yeah,
mean.
thank you. Okay, yeah.
And then that way, the next time a developer comes in and says, hey, we're not allowing it. No, we are. Yeah, it's go over there.
Yeah.
There's one other idea, and I'm gonna credit Jade with this, because he brought it up the other day. But
If the developer were, sorry.
I'm sorry. You guys are talking about having a farmland preservation fund. One potential option is to zone this for some level of height and density, and then allow up to a certain higher level with payment into that farmland preservation fund.
You can preserve.
Then you're tying your two things together quite literally.
And it's segmented, can you back up a little, or
Zoom back up,
that you, your work, right, yeah. Look, guys, we couldn't ask for a better spot if we were to have one go up back a little bit further. That triangle from, like, kind of a triangle, but you've got
Yeah.
Burton, down Patterson, and then 28th Street, then you have the expressway, right? Like that, yeah, you don't.
Except I wouldn't allow 3 stories there on 28th Street, I would just allow it to
Put
second.
that aside, like right here, where he.
Yeah.
Started there.
This office park,
I think it's currently eighty-three.
yeah, well, let's look at it.
Well, and the problem is that, like, Northern Drive does not come all the way through. It's just, it is.
Any future development would have to fix the road.
Correct.
Which is.
But that'd be a huge advantage to cleaning up that whole form.
Like, think about the opportunity here, and I love that idea. Hey, for each story you go up, it's $1 million bucks of farmland, right?
I hear what you're saying, but it's just against.
It's right.
You're gonna have 5 stories there.
It just helps us with that.
So what's it blocking in the
What if they
view?
build that prison looking castle in
We can
Greenville,
hold
a version of that?
You don't want a castle?
I do not.
We can put design, we should put design requirements in, make it look nice, but also it's in the township, but it isn't like, it's right at the edge.
I don't know. I go to Costco and it's
That's not Costco.
close.
I mean, it's Total Wine maybe, but
I understand what you're saying.
I think the Costco thing is a reasonable point though, because Northern Drive would have to access it somehow and comes down like right on top. That's a good point. The mess that is this area right now.
Oh, it have to be beefed up big time.
And I know that it's.
don't say that to the last planner, because that was a drive-in movie theater. This was the grand solution.
Oh, my
gosh.
That was a drive-in movie theater?
It was.
It was also.
And then for 17 years, it was a
movie theater.
actual,
The movie theater sat in front of it, drive-in was still there.
yeah, driving was in the back for, it got abandoned for,
20
well,
years.
Showcase Simmons was there for 17 years, in operation for 17 years, and the drive-in was still back there.
It was still there.
So they didn't take the screen down, so they built,
Yeah.
Dick's or Staples or something.
But that's what this was an answer to. And it is.
I'll tell you, as the newbie in the room,
Yeah.
driving that development, the first time I ever drove into it, of course, I got into the wrong lanes, I wanted to go straight, because I had, I was in this lane, I didn't know that when I made the left,
And
so
they
like,
just switched it up.
and then there's a light inside on the interior of the development, which I've never seen in my entire life. And I'm like, okay, this is,
It's asinine.
so,
This is
The whole
like
town-
Western Wayne County, and this was too wacky for you.
Wait till you,
Yeah.
wait till you try and
This
pull
was
out.
too much big box in one place.
we used to go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I drive been the street that goes around the Walmart area? That's an.
I have not.
Street.
The one that's in the back,
Yeah, that's where you go next. It's
Heard
not
about
really
it.
a street, it's kind of a street.
Go back to one that.
Can you go back to Target for a minute? Chris?
like, just a quick comment, I think there's lots of discussion about what we don't want. I think it's always the things that we see either in neighboring communities or there's things that we have done previously that were mistakes. That I think, yeah, all you gotta do is make it right with what we're doing here with the master plan. And then
How do we fix this?
what's this one?
Not at Pasco.
Costco, Target.
Oh,
It is
well, you
Hotel
can't kick
Avenue.
Costco out.
I'm not suggesting that we kick them out. I mean, like, that's my point. Like 30 years from now, how do we ensure this is a benefit?
Honestly, you gotta make the two entry points bigger. And you gotta make the light, and you gotta make the lights longer. That light coming in, I've counted, it's less than 10 seconds. When that left turn light goes on.
You know how you solve that problem?
Future residential.
No, you redevelop the triangle on the other side of the road, up by Kramer's former property. You redevelop that triangle, and when you redevelop that, you rebuild Northern Industrial Drive, and that becomes a major road, and then the road commission will put a traffic signal at Northern Industrial Drive, which would, take a lot of the load off the other traffic signal.
And then let,
That's
where-
where
the
people
county
will
solved
go
that
in and
problem.
out for Costco and Dick's, they'll come in and out right there.
I think like another
You do that
issue,
too. It's not designed for it.
another problem, I think, to answer your question, is make these streets real streets. It says Hotel Avenue, and it goes from 20th to 33rd, and it is, it's got signs in the middle of the street. Like, have you seen that before? I haven't. Like, when you're at 20th and Hotel Avenue, there's signs in what we're calling an avenue, like, right next, you park at it at the light when you're facing McDonald's, I guess you said.
That I don't think
So
can
is
be
it a street,
controlled by
or
the
is it a
national
parking
Are those
lot?
private roads or those?
tenant.
They're private.
Yeah, private.
Eventually, like, say you
Oh,
wanted
within
to,
the- what you
make those
developed.
public roads, and you'd like the road commission to do X, Y, and Z, and at least it's articulated, but it's gonna be done, and that's our, to accomplish it. They don't usually like being given roads that they don't already maintain.
What could have prevented this, just for our, like, our knowledge?
So
Would it
one of
have
the
been the
things
planning
that-
commission of saying, hey, we don't like how
Yeah,
this is?
wider road.
access.
Access, and I think one of the things that where it came from before that we were successful in doing is we did not only the main access off of 28th Street, which was our Ford Road, we did cross access and we required it on all the parcels along the busy corridor. So if someone wanted to come in and redevelop or develop a parcel, you could basically traverse almost a full mile without even touching 28th Street if you wanted to stay within the shopping corridor.
Which is already true to your west, and is actually true going this way because of this facility in Tahoe and Charlotte. But yeah, in this area, you don't have it. You do have Hotel Avenue, which is pretty substandard, that goes down to 33rd, it's not awful.
The problem is there's nothing else to connect that
This site
development
is
to.
really constrained by the private cemetery and the wetland. And trying to get a Target and a Costco in there, it's gonna get real hard to get enough infrastructure, period. That would have been my answer at the time.
But you're talking about north-south connectors here, like they did with Ford.
So Jade, I have a question for you, and I don't know if we can do this as a township, but can we reach out and change the timing on the lights, right, going in and out? Because if you made those lights 5 to 10 seconds longer, you're not gonna have a big line of cars anymore, right?
Yeah,
The road commission.
yeah, we work with the road commission.
They look at.
One thing I've heard that we've had a good relationship with them, so
Were you a city or were you a township?
I've been part of both.
What was the camp? That was the city, right?
Kansas Township.
Is
So
there
we were
any
100% reliant.
Is there any advantage to becoming a city to have that level of control, or is it not worth the?
It's not worth it, in my opinion.
No, that's fine, man.
There's a lot of financial, obligations when you become a city.
Got
I mean, you do have some more control over roads and things, but you also take on a lot more responsibility as well.
Don't you often contract back with the municipal that was doing it
Yeah.
before anyway?
Yeah.
So it's like, it
Yeah.
kind of moved
And
from.
doesn't that go to
Also,
vote
state
too?
highway,
For what? Yeah.
which
Like,
means even if you
to
say it's
those
still not.
residents that want
Yeah,
to go to vote?
yes.
Well, 28th Street is a state.
But if you told them we could put up speed limit signs, they'd all be for it.
Right.
Beyond
You
the
guys have
county.
a question about that?
So, as a city, though, are you not more able to tax people that are using your township that don't live in it? For example, like, we have a lot of people that work in our township that don't live here. We have a lot of people that own land that's used in industrial ways that don't live here. And as a township, yeah, there's property taxes and various other things, but there's no like, 1% income tax or something like that. That some cities do levy on people that work, or
Yeah,
like as a city, we would be able to make money off of the people that are using our township without shipping in.
none of the communities that I was a part of have. I know the city of Detroit has their own tax. I don't know. I'm sure Grand Rapids.
Most applicably to you guys.
No city, and how are those cities?
Walker does. Walker, what's the population of Walker? I don't know.
Just a little bit bigger than you guys, about 20,000. And actually growing faster because they have the Laker line and they are not, those, after the next 6 months, I don't know if you guys saw the moratorium, they are actually open to more sort of high density development. But, their philosophy 20, 30 years ago was they wanted to be the community where people worked, not where people lived. And so they built out that entire I-96 industrial corridor and then put in the income tax. And that's how they are largely funded. Their property taxes are relatively low.
I like thinking about that because I feel like we have a lot of people that are trying to take from us as a township without being invested in it, or without us, they'll say, well, we want to develop this, but there's not much in it for us as a township other than just.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but like, I want to.
Anyway, sorry, yeah, we'll talk about this some other day.
Well, no, I think it's somewhat relevant. I think you can tie, Brian, you can probably speak to this too, but you can tie a lot of community development back. Community, community,
Kickbacks?
Benefits?
no, yes, community benefits in your PUDs and in your agreements with these developers. So let's say you wanted to preserve parkland. It doesn't have to be on the property that they're developing. They can give you a community benefit that's going to apply somewhere else in the township. And we, I shouldn't say we, Canton, they still do it, very successful with funding parks and sidewalks and paths, and just the tree issue is a whole other issue. But we had definite community benefits with every PUD that we agreed to.
We're missing that.
We are.
Did you say that Walker is experiencing extreme development in part to the Laker line being there? And how does that, does that impact the residential, commercial, industrial, or
So it's.
what's the thought process on that?
So, okay, so just like full disclosure, we're working on a process a lot like this with them as well. And you're right, there's zoning ordinance. At the same time, you guys are doing it back to back, which is better. But anyway, because the Laker line is there, which is immediately ties them to GVSU, they were already getting GVSU demand before GVSU started running buses every 15 minutes, right? But they have a Standale corridor, right? So Lake Michigan Drive,
Right.
that is kind of sort of like 28th Street, a little bit. And they're getting a lot of demand for residential right in and around that corridor.
Okay.
And then the other thing that they have is there's a little stretch between that and where the city of Grand Rapids begins that was always sort of underdeveloped. It had like the Lincoln Lawns golf course and stuff, and actually the last farm in Grand Rapids on the GR side of one, until recently. And that is where they're suddenly getting like developers who had called them for 50 years, calling and saying, hey, there's that land on Lake Michigan Drive, how many apartments can I put on that? That's why they put in a 6-month moratorium on development over a certain density, so they can actually get a plan in place.
Okay.
For that corridor. Now, their answer is not no, it's we're gonna put planning and zoning in place, and then you're gonna meet all of our rules, and then take it or leave it. That could be their answer. So, it is a little different situation, because.
So what I'm hearing is that the development that the bus line is creating, it sounds like is more of the higher density.
It is.
Okay.
Let's say it this way, it's apartments for GVSU kids. That's what they want to build.
Gotcha.
And, and again, Walker's not like 100% opposed to that. They just, I don't know if you guys saw that they had, you got the West Town apartment building, which is across the street from their Meyer, caught on fire.
Yeah.
That freaked them out for obvious reasons. It's like, okay, we're not opposed to this, but like, we're not throwing these things up slapdash so they can just, catch on fire, right? So they're putting in rules to make sure things are higher quality. building code obviously always applies, so the fire was really mostly bad luck. But they are saying things like your apartment complex must have a park, it must have, laundry facilities, it must have an indoor swimming pool or other similar amenity. Like, it must have rooftop patio, it must have balconies, it's like, we're not letting you build cheap. You wanna build, you're gonna build nice, that's what they're looking for. And you guys could do something similar. You can also do, as Jade says, you know, it's things with PUDs where, okay, you guys get this, then we get this. Now, you have to be able to give to get.
Right. You guys turn to
That's
page,
kind of what we're talking
if you
about.
turn to page 4 of this, it's actually Canton examples, which I did not put this together. So the very top one is a Sting development. Those are very high-end apartments that are actually on Ford Road. But right across the street, which is not on this, part of their community give back was, I'm gonna forget the total acres, but it's gotta be like 70 acres of land that they donated to the township, and it's now gonna be a passive park with trailways. So, and then we've extended our sidewalk across Ridge Road, which you can't see either, to that park as well. So although they gave up that property, but they have high density there, those apartments go for about $3,000 a month. And then, but then the park across the street can service their residents, but it's also public in the
Jade, do you
township.
wanna bring some of this up here?
I really.
I'm trying to forget
when I-
him, but I can't.
When I.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you guys have a
really
lot of, sorry, Daniel, I think you guys have a lot of good precedents, in Canada, because you guys are basically Cascade times 5.
And actually, one of the things that we're doing with MDOT right now is we're actually making Ford Road a boulevard. This is gonna be horrible.
This development's further north.
Yeah,
You mean with like a median down the middle?
Yeah.
What I really liked about this case study that I pulled, was exactly that they look like single-family homes on the frontage of
Keep
Ford
going.
Road.
It's still going.
But
Yeah.
the further into the development you go, the further north you go, the higher the density it is. And you can't necessarily see that all from the street frontage, but there actually are.
Okay, you're right there.
Or-
So if we can zoom out just a little bit.
Well,
So see the park on the left-hand side? That's all gonna be, that's a natural area, and those apartments that you see in your example, those are on the right. Park West, but you can look at, if you can, you can't even see, but the amenities that they have for these apartments is next to none.
It's like I can't get in there on Google, but,
I mean, you can see the pool, they've got a hot tub, they've got community space out there, it's,
It looks
Oh,
like,
wow.
and I'm not being a horse's ass, at least not this time. It looks like they're 2-story.
they are.
Okay.
So,
What is your density cap there, Jay?
that might be free in that, is it not?
oh, you know what, you're right, in the back, those on the backside, those are like brownstones, those are 3 stories. So they have. like,
But they're on the back.
They're in the back, but see, that's all stuff you can control.
Right, I like that.
So does that have to, like, how do we start doing that? Can we just start throwing that into UDs now, or is there guidelines in town?
We changed our language in our PUD section. We have those specific requirements.
But like, we can do that on a case-by-case basis is what I'm asking. Like, we don't have to have some kind of policy as a township for the planning commission to start asking for these things.
Probably need something to fall back on.
We need-
you need a set of,
zoning
you need a set
ahead of
of
time.
principles that come
Yeah.
in your master plan that say this is what we want from the development.
Yeah,
Or you can even do what Walker's doing, right into their zoning ordinance if you must. Now, they're being very specific, and you may not want to do that.
yeah,
I think
because you open yourself up for some challenges legally if you just start doing it, you know, you didn't do it for this guy, but now you're gonna do it for me, so, but I think you can definitely write some things into place which we would wanna do before we, you know, started implementing it. You could even see, you zoom back out, we enforced this whole streetscape, low fencing, or the brick walls and the fencing, and you can see the median against, the road there, all of the plantings. We just didn't let anybody get away with it. We created, that's the park.
Oh, it's not, they're going their own way.
How many residents per acre on that development?
Yeah, what's the data?
Oh,
Well, I mean, guess.
well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's probably pretty high on that.
Well, he's
property,
thinking
but
about
again,
that.
they Preserve all the open
I
space,
think
so
what
take
we
them
need to
together.
do, and I think we're already working on this a little bit in the direction of the subcommittee, maybe, probably, I think that, my hope is we'll get somewhere near there. For like apartments and stuff, to add, say, 3 stories, right? I think our zoning ordinance needs to spell out like that. I think it needs to say, we allow two-story buildings. However, you know, maybe in some circumstances, we may allow a third story, but there'll be an exchange for, maybe it's open space across the street, or, you know, or a donation to the open space fund, or something like that. So that, because one reason you want to put that in writing, obviously, is so that you know, enforce it, but I think it's also a little bit of a marketing, right? I mean, if developer A comes in and he wants to develop something, he's like, oh, look, I can get up to 3 stories if I give him that parcel of land I own down on, Buttrick. I'll just give him that 40 acres, maybe let me have the third story, you know, or fourth story, or whatever the case may be. But if you don't have it in writing, nobody's gonna know about that opportunity, and I think the ultimate goal is to get some cool development, instead of just the mundane, average, same thing. We want some unique stuff like that. That's, you know, that's
What
pretty
do you
cool.
guys think about the first image on the first page of the case study, where it has different parts of the building are different heights?
I hate it.
Do you get it?
I do, that's just me.
Is it the height or is it the design?
Yeah.
Like the window look of it.
So if
Sorry.
the.
But that's my analytical, I mean.
But if the
like,
look looks like this, where you had a more traditional piece and some fencing, but the change in the height, would that be better?
I don't, you know, again,
I
I
think
just,
one window should have one more to the left.
yeah, I just Googled on my phone, downtown Traverse City, downtown Holland, right? But guess what? 2 stories. Now, there are spots as you get further down the main strip that they've gone to a couple buildings or 3 stories, but most of the heart of that downtown is 2 stories.
Yeah, I agree.
The redevelopment area, though, it's not the halfway.
Okay,
that we're talking
yeah,
And
and
I think there's broad agreement, because one, you got really quaint and small.
yeah, but here's the thing, Cascade Village to me, from somebody who's lived here since I was 5, goes all the way to the highway.
Oh, now, wait a minute. When I was 5, there was farmland.
My thing is, I don't want to keep 3-story building to the, if you want to get on the other side of the highway, you want to put a 3-story building in there?
I agree. I think, like, when you look at, like, downtown
When they
Holland,
don't mind.
you see that it's 2
It's
stories.
not 3 story.
But something about, like, that third and fourth story, just,
It might be.
it goes from, like, a downtown Holland look to, like, a cheap apartment building look somehow.
And again, that's why you can do 2-story along the street and 3-story behind it, where you're not seeing it, it's pushed back and doesn't have that same effect.
Also, homes are allowed to do.
Are they? Well, then we could do 2.5 stories there. That's
Actually, 2.5 is not a bad
Yeah,
idea,
half
because
story.
if developers will do the peaked roof to get the half story. Right, and then they'll put dormers on it, which looks pretty nice.
Which then I was just telling Brian, I'm like, you also look at not just the number of stories, but the height.
Right.
So you want to have some height standards and some story standards, and marry all that together.
I'm okay with 2.5 stories, there's a compromise, see?
I think that, actually, the Holland Traverse City example is interesting, because in both of those cases, they establish height limit for the main street.
Right.
Then if you go off the main street, the
Mhm.
height goes up, but they're urban, they are
Right.
cities, right, they're not townships, so, but there is something to, same thing we're talking about here, 28th Street and lower, and behind it, maybe going a little higher.
Like
But
the triangle.
if you go down 7th Street in Holland, there's like 7, 8, 9-story buildings. But if you go down 8th Street, but like the City Flats, it's not called City Flats, the Tulip Hotel, like those are tallish buildings. I'm exaggerating, it's like 4 or 5, but they're not 2. But then if you go on 8th Street, yeah, because you want to keep, if you want to have a pedestrian-oriented village or city downtown, you want to keep the buildings at 2 to 3, because otherwise they're out of human scale. So even if you go to downtown Grand Rapids and walk down Monroe Center, a lot of those are just 3-story buildings, and then the skyscrapers are off, right? So there is something to that concept, and I think we can replicate it.
And again, I'm okay with certain, like, behind Myers, you know, that would be a good place for a 3-story building, right? In fact, tucked, you know, between,
Like
yeah.
where those ones are.
Yeah, well, yeah. Again, the triangle that we're all talking about, that's a good place. We even talked about the guy that came in and talked about developing a high-end, apartment complex back here.
Right there.
Right. Again, 3 stories. I can do 3 stories back here, but my concern is, it's economy of scale, that if I'm a developer, I'm like, listen, I can get an extra story, I can put an extra, like, great, that's good, right? I want you to be profitable, but not at the expense of getting down. Right? So I just don't see us as a high-rise community.
And that's how you get those nicer amenities too, though, is allowing them that third story, then they can afford nicer amenities. And all
A
that.
third story with a certain setback, I don't know what that setback would be, but it would have to be something pretty substantial, you know?
And you'd be happy if street side, we'd max it at 2, but everything back.
Or 2.5. So
2.5,
yeah.
you go to 3. I think that's where we left off at our last meeting.
What do you think about that?
Why,
I don't have a problem with doing that. I like the idea of some of the redevelopment areas that are off Main Street going up to 3 and maybe 4. We got some areas here, the word decay came up. And I worry about a lot of these empty office buildings sitting there empty for the next 20 years or getting torn down and people trying to do better stuff. And if we can be proactive and come in with some options with developers that are consistent with what we want to make them money, I think we should do that. And whether it's 3 stories or 4 stories that are off Main Street, I don't have a problem with that at all.
And you know, to that point, you mentioned decay of old office buildings. If we're not willing to let them build something tall there, then they're probably gonna come in with a proposal to just renovate what's there into an apartment building. And I'd rather see them scrape the slate clean and come in with something really cool. And I think if you
This is downtown Holland.
if you were to limit the
This
height.
is Novi.
No,
So this is what, so there's a few
Yeah.
different things that go on in
Like
Novi.
that.
One is they have this like little main street that they built basically from scratch, which may be an opportunity to as a precedent for your village here.
Although I've never
Although I
seen
don't
it
think you wanna be
coded.
this.
I've never seen it at full capacity.
No.
That's my only concern with that one.
Yeah, and I agree with you, because actually you can still see that there's areas that aren't finished.
Yeah.
Right? So that's off the main drag. And we could talk about successful incentives. The picture we took is here at Novi Road and Grand River, which would be conventionally the center of town, right?
Yep.
And actually it has
That's there
this
one.
building, which I think is relatively historic. But then it has, you know, this is what they did on the other side, right? You see the brick. You see that they are 1-story buildings, but they've got a little extra facade height. They're almost tall like 2 stories, right? And they have these, and they have these windows and doors that face this way, and the nice streetscaping. Now, I don't know.
And
if
I think
Google
that some of them
can
are-
look back in.
I think some of those are fake windows too. I think. there's-
Yeah, so actually, it's something that, if you were trying to create this busy road as a real main street, it's a failure. As a suburban corridor, that when you come into this town, you say, I've arrived in a nice place where I would want to live, it's a success. So, it depends what your goals are, I think. Because I do think that it just shows well, it shows its high image.
I like that you don't see the parking lots. When I lived there, that was one thing that I really liked, especially when they get disgusting, right? Like, they're always behind it.
Yeah, so here's what the parking lot's looking behind. And the other thing I'd point out to here, and this is something you guys do in partnership with the DDA, is count the trees. There's trees everywhere. And you can overdo it because some of these don't look super healthy.
Well, you have to cut down every other tree.
But the point is that if you don't require this knee wall and the trees at all, then we just have pavement.
Yeah.
But they have a sidewalk, they have a knee wall, and yeah, maybe too many trees, but there's trees.
Oh, that's fine though.
And again, we do have all those requirements in the B1 right now. We just haven't had a lot of redevelopment there to actually put them in. And then the question is how far do we extend that down 28th Street? Right, we don't need that at the highway, but when do we start requiring that kind of design?
I'd actually argue you should have all the way to the highway.
I do too, I agree with that.
Let's
Do
look
you
at.
want to look at 275 and Ford Road?
Sure, yeah, because,
Take them across the bad way.
Yeah.
we could go both directions, right? So,
Isn't that closed right now, or did they reopen that? Ford closed?
They've been doing major construction on all that for a while, so I don't know what's.
sorry,
That was pretty.
that was an aggressive Google Maps.
Garden City is another great example.
Yeah, correct.
All right, so,
right there.
come off the highway.
Oh, wow.
Well, these are active shots. They're in the middle of construction, but you can see that we took our DDA scape, but, well, you can still see what I'm talking about though. The DDA scape is all the way down right onto the highway entrance. So that knee wall, so that is heading Oh, yeah.
I'm heading west now.
So you're heading west, so you can see our GDA scape. We got, if you go to the right, we've got the can sign, all that good stuff. But then if you turn around and go back to the east,
Yeah, head towards West.
Wait a minute, hold on. Scan right there. So look, there is a 3-story, but it's tucked back.
that's a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's, we're not, it's basically on the IKEA campus. That hotel, right?
Well, actually, you want to see development failure. Keep going west.
I almost used that.
You're gonna go through Hagerty. Like this, you would not want to see. It's that red thing off to the left, but keep going east or west. Sorry, keep going through the intersection. This was Art Van's pilot.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Flagship
Oh,
store.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That they.
Oh, that's across from IKEA.
Yes, and that is the ugliest thing. I mean, and it doesn't go with anything in the township.
You know, I was gonna say, it was like Tommy's car wash.
So, but.
It's not clean though.
This is a general question for anyone to answer, if you know the answer. What's the reason to build like a 7, 8-lane road and just have a left turn lane all the way down instead of a median? Like, why would you not want a median?
So actually, this right here, what you're talking about, they're taking this left-hand lane out
To
because
put a median in.
to put a median in.
And that seems like a great idea.
And do Michigan turns.
Yeah, and some loons.
There, right there is the reason why.
And
Well,
actually,
when you
they
look at
did it for-
28th Street, like,
Turn stuck.
well, they did it for safety because there's a lot of fatalities, on Ford Road.
you would rather have just an endless left turn lane
Yeah, but see, I can drive, so most people can't.
when you're surrounded by multiple.
Are you one of those guys that pull into the left lane and just start hauling ass and merge?
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
Oh, our traffic calming traffic.
Yeah.
For 60 feet.
Yeah.
And it
To me,
gives
the
more
more
opportunities for
pretty
pedestrians
better.
crossing.
Well, so,
And protect
No, I'm
you
not
from
headed
those
west.
unsafe drivers.
yeah. So now this is going under 275, heading into the neighboring community.
Westland.
Actually, it still can't, you can since they're longer than.
Till you guys, till the viaduct.
They can go.
So you're going east right here?
We're going east.
You're
Still
going
in the
Yeah, this is,
dark theater.
actually, this area right here, which is undeveloped, is the high-rise, zoning in Canton, which is never built.
Isn't it all wetland?
Yep, you know what, that brings up an interesting point. That might be interesting if there's some data on, you know, we added a median and our accidents reduced by 30%.
Well, like, when you turn left at Meyer on Craft, it's like, how wide is those left turn lanes? It's like 2 lanes, 3 lanes wide, like, it's not even shaped like a lane anymore, it's just like an idea.
Can't even invested in all their streetlights. If you can back up just a little bit, like everything is a distinct color. We work with MDOT. Clearly they paid for those. But even not just those lights, your, street signals.
They're all green.
They're all green. So this is the last one before you get to Westland, and then you can see that everything changes as you head east. So you don't have to worry about becoming Kentwood if you don't want to become Kentwood. There's so many things you can do.
Well, you go east because you take in Canton, Michigan, and you're at the border of Canton.
Something like that.
So that's why it's not letting you
There we
go
go.
further.
Fast forward.
And then it just
This
becomes more.
is the private track, so now we're in west.
Yeah.
Some people call it the
On
basement.
28th.
Yeah.
You see why?
Yeah, so now this is Westland. Which is,
You'd have
get your cable overhang,
Yeah.
your cable wire.
No
There's
landscaping,
not enough room otherwise.
minimal trees. There is a sidewalk.
We have a community called Wyoming.
You can see.
Look at how close together all of the,
Different
entrances off the
uses.
street are. You know, I mean, it's like every 70 feet, there's a curb cut.
Almost like the Walmart parking First Street.
Brian, do you guys have access management in your
Mhm.
organization?
Yep, yeah, we have, spacing standards.
Yeah, the strip corridors that were built before there are any rules, they're wrong.
Yeah, we have a lot of non-conforming.
I don't tell you guys that because you have piece of 28th Street that way, it's only a few miles west of all.
Yeah, but I like a lot of our stuff set back further, which is kind of nice. But then again, that puts a lot of parking out front.
Right.
Where here, the parking's probably behind the buildings.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't want to just say no buildings in Cascade Township that are greater than 2.5 stories in the future? The whole township, 2.5
Yeah,
the upper limit.
like those guys said, I mean, back in that triangle, back there by the highway, I mean, I think Scott might have said it too, it's good to put something in there that says, listen, you can do 3 stories, potentially more, but we have designated areas for that.
And you,
What
there
about
can be that
what-
incentive of you have to give us a,
Right.
this, if you're
So
gonna
we
go
would get
higher.
like a whole bunch more Drury hotels and just know that they gave us a park somewhere.
Well, can we say no more hotels?
I mean, you can, yeah, regulate.
I'd rather say
Specify-
apartments, like the hotels are.
Right, it doesn't have to be, allow hotels, it can be a 4-story condo apartment complex.
Is our goal
Does it make
conservation
sense?
or development and growth? We can't be both.
Sure. Let me ask this,
Yeah,
Does it
I
make
think, I think both, depending on where in the township. you're at.
does it make
I'm all
sense
for
for us to have
that.
a specific area in the zoning that is the only spot we will allow hotels? So that we have the ability to limit them in other commercial
Yeah, as
districts?
long as you allow it somewhere.
Right.
You can't say no hotels.
So maybe what we need to do is designate an area, maybe it's that area behind Meyer, where there's already 3 of them. We say that is the hotel area. And then,
Right, just the expressway service.
and then you take hotel out of the commercial zoning, so that it's not a, exactly, and same thing with the expressway service district, maybe just so that if somebody does go to redevelop that office park, it doesn't, we don't get a bunch of Best Western applicants in here.
Hey, why don't we go through this memorandum
I don't know.
bit by bit, and see what we agree with and don't agree with? Is everybody good with that? Not the one that you're holding, Scott.
Oh, sorry.
The draft,
Yeah,
I didn't just have to be like,
Make
right,
recommendations.
we're good.
I'd like to more traffic on the road that we drive on. I'm good with the amount of traffic currently. You want more
So the
traffic?
designations at the bottom of the first page there, that is all the same text that was carried over from last month. The major changes are the, height and, density and land uses on page 2 under preliminary policy recommendations. That's basically the major changes from last month. I also trimmed back the farmland preservation, narrative as well, in comparison to last month, to just better coincide with those discussions.
I missed another name out.
There's-
There's 2 memorandums.
Oh, I did.
This one.
Yeah. You can,
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to pass this down?
So this page 2, is the money page, so we need to make sure we feel good about this.
Well, here's the thing, we talked about 2.5 stories, and some of these say 2 to 3, so I think we need to shore up some of these.
Well, the boulevard category is intended to be 28th Street itself, except for the part that is designated as parking village. Maybe we start there. And that's, we talked about earlier, the lower height. And it's a hard cap.
Yeah.
Can we
The way
create a
we-
special district with star, that star corner, that star triangle?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's what we were going for.
Yeah.
And with why there's like 4 different categories, because we were trying to divide up the corridor and Centennial Park and the office parks around it into areas that we have different goals for. And the star triangle, or everyone call it for shorthand, is one thing, and the Meyer area is another, and the Target and Glenwood Hills area is another. We can do that.
Yeah,
They are.
I feel like all
This
3
year,
of those
this year.
areas are very different from each other, even though they're so close together. Like the Star area, like Alan said, anything that could happen there is gonna be better than what it looks like now. Meanwhile, the Meyer YMCA area, I mean, minus maybe something very close to the highway, it's already full and developed, I feel. And then, as we talked about, the Target, Dick's, Costco, Aldi area is a whole nother issue. Like, all 3 of those areas are like very different from each other, I feel.
I have a strong opinion on this. I think that we need to designate an area, like perhaps maybe the Meyer area, as the area that we allow hotels. And then that would,
The Meyer area.
that would,
where there are.
right, there are hotels there now. That area is so full of traffic that putting a different use in there is only going to make the traffic problem worse. And I kind of look at the hotels as a low traffic thing. But that would allow us to then be able to pull allowing hotels in the area behind McDonald's and that triangle we want to redevelop, pull the word hotel, if you will, out of what we currently allow on the rest of 28th Street corridor. And we need to put that in a specific spot so that we aren't, right now, we're allowing it everywhere.
Yeah, it's got to stop.
That's my point. And the only way it's gonna stop is if you pick a spot to put it.
Well, the spot would be west of 96, not the Meyer side. Like the Star side and the Hotel Avenue side. I mean, the damage is done, sort of.
You go to that?
I'm good at putting
Is
all
there
the
some-
hotels in mine.
Yeah.
Something to the idea of.
Really?
With 10 more, and, oh, yeah. I think that'd be a great
By
idea.
the Meyer.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great idea.
If you designate,
Nowhere else.
you don't have to have a spot, I mean, you have to have a designated area, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there has to be vacant property there. There just has to be a designated area. And then once you've got that, then that allows you to change the zoning in the other areas to not.
They see that as synergy.
Yeah, it's energy right there.
I feel like, so,
Your thought is then because they'll never go in there.
They'll never be able to build
There won't
there.
be any
That's
other
the spot I want to build.
Okay, okay, so keep them up completely.
Well, yeah, so if we say.
You with me?
yeah.
No,
okay,
I'm not, but I, now I know
Thank
what
you
you're
for
saying.
clarifying that, at least.
All right, I'm,
That-
you know,
But I'd like to block them off, like Scott says, we like to find a
So we should
designated.
probably give them a little bit of space with the current 2-hour Hotel Avenue, just because the road's made that.
Well, they may be able to buy something else in there and build.
I got, how about
We
this?
do.
I mean, you tell them they can drop the red roof in and they can build a 4-story hotel right there.
If,
Designate a couple of those crappy hotels that they can, listen, you wanna,
Well, one's a
Scale.
motel, also.
right, but you can buy the
That
red
people
roof
live
in,
at.
drop it, and you can put a 4-story right there.
I was trying to get at that. But yeah.
Right now, guys, like, look at Star, Meyer, and Glenwood Hills all fit in this redevelopment mixed use. If we were to break them apart, what would be different?
The Meyer side is very different.
So, like, there's specific 3 requirements: density, height, and land uses. So what thing would we change if we said just Meyer?
The Meyer side is lower height,
Okay, so what should that be?
as low as possible.
Well, then maybe
How tall
that's
is hotel
solar
now?
mixed use though.
Yeah, I
What's
think
that?
it's
I don't have a problem with the height.
Some of that's the expressway, right?
Between Meyer and the highway?
there right now is nuts.
And if we're not allowing residential, you can strike the word density.
Let's see what Timmy's saying is. they're
Yeah,
not
there may
gonna
not
go
be space for residential buyers anyway.
He's going to give
Maybe on
permission.
that.
So you're gonna give them permission to build in a place that
Well, I
nobody's
wouldn't
gonna.
say that.
But
What
you
happens
can
if
say,
North-
listen, we're giving you a place.
What happens if North Point Bank moves out of that office building?
Exactly.
That could become, they can buy that all over now.
So if we redevelop,
Right
so
over
if we say
here.
Meyer, we're getting rid of density because we're getting rid of residential, is that what I'm hearing?
That's what it's called.
Yeah. How tall are these four? These
I
are
think
four
they're like
stories,
4.
Some of them are, yeah, we just thought, they just built two.
Why don't we
Last
say
couple of years.
2, and if it's over 2, then they're gonna have to give us something.
I would,
Something like that.
I'd give them 3, and then if it's over 3, we have to give them something.
But why not have them pay us at 3, 4, and 5?
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
All right.
There's different giving.
if you go like here, you'll be able to see all 4 buildings, if it lets you go there.
Capabilities and.
That's how people view that. They're just gonna keep taking
They're all
over
That's
stuff.
4, isn't it?
Four-story Holiday Inn. That's-
4-story, 3-story.
There's another tall one over
That one's
here.
tall. That's wacky, which line, too.
Is it back there?
No, that's North Point.
Oh, that's off.
But that's where the next
There's
hotel.
also, is there
Yeah.
still a
Really?
driving range back there?
Yeah, behind the.
It'll be the parking lot.
Oh, that's.
Split off
Maybe
with
the
the
hurry
parking lot.
company. I think that same building eventually go out, and then with the, you know.
Right.
Designated area to build.
To me, they never should have allowed hotels east of 96.
And then the other 2 are down,
Looking to redevelop that parking lot.
yeah, Hampton Inn, and those are 4 at least.
I don't think there's any more developable land down here.
Give them a no.
You get a spot.
If they need to tear another building down, build it, then move.
And those are like top.
So, but we don't need to designate that future hotel. I think there's something to what Scott's saying about the Meyer being hotels only. And then again, what would or it would be height. So what if we did do 2 stories and you gotta pay for 3, 4, and 5?
What if they say we want 5 stories below ground? Well, Wait, no, it's for other.
This might be a new way to, no one would understand that. So.
I think we'd be allowed all the hotels by the mayor to begin with. But anyway,
Again, the commercial zoning allows hotels.
Right,
So if you want to stop it, then you need to change the underlying zoning definition. That seems to be something we talk about all the time in the planning commission. I don't like these. Like,
Well, you're
you know,
helping with us
well-
next, are you not?
That's what we're doing.
I know, but that's what we
the
always say
idea
is that's next.
of
We'll
what
get
these
to-
little,
you know.
what these little mini districts will end up being, and then we're gonna encode them in zoning. So, and I actually like the idea of east, or the Meyer area east of the highway, that's hotels, and the area west of the highway, we redevelop into residential. Because then you can say, all right, because here's the thing about the market right now, right? Residential's hot, hot, hot. Hotels are actually kind of hot, but it's because the big hotel chains are turning over their inventory because they don't like having things that are more than 20 years old. When they get to 20 years, they abandon stuff and build new. And so you get the roadway in, this was like Motel 6 or something, which is a huge chain, or is a huge chain, but isn't high end. But anyway, was abandoned by the flag, got a second tier flag roadway in, and now it's a problem, right? So I understand your concern with hotels because in 20 years, the brand new ones are gonna be the old generation and they're gonna wanna find a new spot. I don't know that we necessarily need to like help them do that, right? That's wasteful. On the other hand, we have a housing shortage, and you guys don't want to build out in your farms and your hills, of course, right? Because that's sprawl. So if we say what we want is we want someone to redevelop this office park into a quality residential complex. It's also absorbing that demand so it doesn't try to pop up everywhere else.
And I think something,
So I think we can articulate it that way.
just some food for that too, it's really hard to to say, hey, we want to designate this like this, because what we're all doing is we're trying to imagine it. You can't. Because what's going to happen in 20 to 30 years from now when somebody else comes and says, yes, I'm going to take these parcels, I'm going to come to something different. We're not going to be here. It's going to be what happens then. And I know it's hard to understand how that could become that, but that's the whole point of going through a future land use exercise. I know, I'll be in trouble. So I think, coming up with these areas like you're speaking to is important. Saying, yep, this is what we want, and that's where you put it. And regardless of how they get it, that's up to them. That's
Right.
up to us.
Right.
If they want to come in and buy commercial office buildings and buy Myers and put up a convention center, hotel, whatever, well, that's at that point.
We want creative, we want somebody to come in, and so if we want them to be creative, we want to put down specifically what we don't want, but we want them to let them come up with,
Well, I think we take a page out of Chris's book too, and then say in that triangle.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, you get 2 stories. If you want a third, you gotta give us something. If you want a fourth, you gotta give us
So
something.
let's talk about the triangle for a moment. Our triangle, what is our density? What is our height? And what is our median? Thanks, Jay. So what is our density? That's the top one. We're saying it's residential, right? For the star triangle. What is and can't we do the same thing for density as we're doing for height, where they get 2 for free, but when they go into 3, 4, and 5, there's different giving levels?
Yes.
Okay, so you should do the same thing for density.
I don't think I would go past 4 though.
Why not? But that is, again, you don't.
That's the perfect spot. If you're gonna go high anywhere, that'd be the spot to do it.
by Drury Hotel.
I hate
Mortuary
that Drury, I
hotel.
hate that Drury.
It's not a hotel, guys.
It won't look so bad with all the other
We're
ones,
saying
yeah.
apartments and condos. Residential only.
What if you allowed a helipad on the roof? Would that,
I don't have a helicopter, so no, that wouldn't do it for me.
But are we agreeing that there's no hotels then? Like, it is residential only? I think that's what it says. Are we all good on that?
Well, do you wanna say, no, I wouldn't,
I don't want a hotel back there.
no, but what about business?
No, residential only. Just the triangle. Star. That's what they put their apartments.
You can have your apartments there. I don't want them anywhere else. You guys seem to be hell bent on apartments everywhere. I don't want them.
I don't really wanna be
So
Kentwood's right down the road, Granville's building
Give 'em
them
a
up,
place to put 'em.
Wyoming's putting them up, cats and dogs.
I would
Where's
rather
our
have
neighbors?
condos than apartments.
Mike, I wanna make that clear.
No, we're plenty of apartments.
We work for you.
In West Michigan.
We're bringing you what we think the market is saying, but that doesn't mean you have to, you know,
Market,
your
you
land.
have to go around, have some apartments, they got it, everybody else.
I want to buy a condo.
It can be everyone yelling at.
I would agree with you.
There's some like requirements that
That's how you go out.
There is not.
pop up areas to become
There is not.
George Creek or.
There's not, my concern is that area is gonna get blighted quick. And I'm already seeing it with the type of businesses that are back there. That's something to take away. I'm just observationally, like, I'd love to see that replaced. And I think if we did do apartments, if we were specific about the pocket parks, about, like, we could make apartments look like condos.
Why don't you just say you want condos there?
Because I wanna have it broad enough that we might attract some developers who will put in some nice apartments.
Yeah, but that's the thing, I want high-end stuff.
You should ask them, and then we.
Like the guy that was one of the developers.
Right.
Part of it is, would you also
Yeah.
agree
I think
that
it's like a
similarly
few
that
of-
South
You get into some actually industrial.
often start off really nice, and then 20, 30 years later, they're taking Section 8 housing.
I would agree with that. I think we have a bit of an issue that, and you can ask your attorney this, and if your attorney says I'm wrong, then great. But I don't think you can zone for condos but not apartments. What you might be able to do is use the condo thing as one of your bonuses. If it's apartments, it's 2 stories. If you go condo, you can go 3. That may be an option. I would check with your attorney on that. Because otherwise, you're now regulating what someone can buy and sell, and that's different than. like,
Fair housing is
It's
tough.
wonderful.
But would you agree that typically does happen with apartment complexes?
I agree with you.
They start off great, and then they slowly deteriorate and become.
But that
But
happens.
that's particularly true, that's particularly
hotspot.
true if they're not designed from the beginning to have anything about them that's attractive except the fact that they're brand new, which is
Well,
fairly common,
Look
right?
at the apartment, the old, Forest Hills condominiums, right down here down the road.
Yep.
right? You drive in there, and the older part of that they sold, that's behind, now it's behind AutoZone, right? I haven't been back here in about 3 years, but 3 years ago, I was looking pretty rough over there. I mean, it was really rough. So, I mean, compared to other apartment complexes that we have in the community. So, I mean, I think, I kind of like the idea of, if we can't say no apartments there, I like the idea of limiting how tall they are, or how much density they have, and then enticing somebody that, well, if you'd like to make that actual housing instead of apartments, then, we could grant you 4 stories or 3
If
stories.
we can, I think Joe might be able to answer this too. I think fair housing would crack us hard on that.
I don't think fair housing would get us.
What's that?
I don't think fair housing would get us on that. Why does anything have to be more than 3 stories again? Still.
It's not that.
Rather not like
It's
around.
specifying that it can only be, say, condos versus apartments. I don't know that we can say or do that.
No, but what you said is, if you want to put apartments, it's 2 stories. If you want to do site condos, we'll allow you to do 3. That encourages them to go site condos.
If we can do it.
I like site condos better because there's ownership here. It's not like somebody just coming in and paying $1,000 a month so my kid can go to Forest Hill Central. Listen, I bought a condo, right? I'm a resident. I'm not just a renter, right?
I love it. I don't know that we can. That's the question.
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
much
yeah.
of your charge. But I think, if we can, I think there's something to that. I think it gets to the policy goals you guys are talking about, encouraging, like, ownership, which is another thing that is, like, desperately demanded in this market, is that, like, first house or last house, I mean, not even house, the first place, last place that you own, that you start building equity in at 24, and you still have equity in at 80, right? That is not the big family house, because the 24-year-old and the 80-year-old don't need that big family house, but they would like to own, not rent, so not throwing money away.
Let's get
And
that
that's
answer
just that.
before we spend more, because my gut tells me that taking enough seminars with the fair housing, like, they're gonna block that.
You definitely cannot zone, like, prohibiting rental or anything like that. You
You
can't restrain trade. like that.
No apartment.
No, but if,
That's
and
fair
I- this is not my
You could
area here, but if I just say condos only. Is that
You
okay?
can't do that.
We can't.
Well, okay, I'm not a lawyer, and you can ask your lawyer, but I've done this for over a decade now. Pretty positive you can't do that, because you cannot restrain trade like that. It's like you can't tell somebody they can't sell Pepsi, they have to sell Coke. That's not zoning.
Can't we say that we allow apartments in a different area? And so that area, we're not allowing them?
I I don't.
We're allowing apartments here, we're not allowing apartments.
No, you can restrict density, you can even say you can't do residential at all, you can say you have to do detached single family, you can do all that, but you can't use zoning to tell people what they can and cannot sell to people.
Okay, so let's
But you can say that it can't be a hotel, but it can't be an apartment, but you can't say it can't be an
hotel's
apartment,
different
but it
than.
can't be a condo.
Hotel's different than like long-term living, right?
Well, then let's do it through the density.
I think that an apartment is somewhere in between a hotel and a
Restrict the
condo.
density so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
condo.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
We'll have that
legal
one way or the other.
Yeah,
let's
let's
So you can, so here's something, here's something that maybe we were asking, if you really want to get into this, which is that you can prohibit, there's somewhere there is a line between a hotel and apartment, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there is an Airbnb, VRBO, and communities are drawing those lines like crazy right now because there's all sorts of different creative ways to be a rental, right? So I have had communities that prohibit leases less than 30 days. I don't know if we can prohibit leases less than a year or something like that. I don't know if that even achieves your policy goals, and I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole, but that would be the only.
So just to dive in, if it's only condo, let's say we can figure that out. Then we're saying 2 stories with a giving level at 3, 4, and 5. Is that what we're saying? I just want to get some of this down. Because I think we are in agreement. Yeah. Does anybody disagree with that?
I don't understand.
For condo only.
I still like the 2.5, just for the record, 2.5 stories throughout the whole Cascade Township. Other than what's already built.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I'm good with the 3 or 4.
I'm good with 3 or 4.
With the trade-off.
3 and 4, Timmy?
With the trade-off and setbacks.
Yeah, trade-off and setback.
Yeah, bring it up.
Okay.
Get a kickback.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 3 and 4, I wouldn't go higher.
All right, so
As
3
a
and 4.
compromise.
I know you're not, so I'm just trying to.
This is the start.
Just
Right.
the
Start, if we're allowed to do just condos. Let's talk about density now. What would that density look like? And again, with density, we can do different giving levels.
Well, I think right now, we had said we were at 6 to 8, right, in the township, is
Yeah.
that what we had said, and the Centennial Park area, we're at, right over here in our backyard, we're at 12, are we not? Is that not where we're at?
It's like 10.
10?
Oh, you mean the.
Because the ridges-
The allowed, ridges is like 10.
Okay,
There's lots of green space, that's how they were.
That's right, there's some green space in the golf course.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, actually, I mean,
It's
so
not real.
physically on the property is like 10, the calculated numbers are 6.
Right, that's how they got it.
We just changed it to no more than 8.
We changed it to 12. Remember, it was not to exceed 12.
I think it was.
It's 12 and above, we changed it to not to exceed 12 without centennial overlay.
So
currently, right?
what do we, so we're gonna say 6 to 8 is typical density for these condos. What if they give back? What do we want?
Well, that's why I was trying to get an understanding of where we're at
Yeah, sure.
here. So if you're telling me we're at realistically,
12.
we're at 12, okay.
But
I would, with the right open space, I'd be willing to go up
That's your
to 12,
concern, too.
but I think I would want to keep it at 6 unless there's some,
Well, they're gonna give something, but
Right.
I think, so if we did say 12, I'm just throwing that out there. If we said 12, we're gonna have to have a certain amount of open space and certain perhaps amenities, parking lot, whatever, I'm just throwing
And
something
like,
out
right,
there.
we'll look at.
yeah, I would be,
Yeah.
I would be okay with that.
Even at 6 to 8.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff,
Leave
yeah.
it at 6 to 8, like they got it, but then say up to 12 with certain additional amenities and or open space.
Right.
You get, understanding I'm taking some of those.
Like a car wash.
Which area was this?
Something to start for,
Golf
start
course.
triangle.
and-
All right,
Our
now,
hotel.
Hotel.
what if we are not able to limit this to condos, and it's just if it's both apartments and condos? Because I want to get the answer from the attorney, but have 2 plans so she can document this without us having to meet on it again.
Then we can put a yellow circle around it and make it a target area.
So if it is apartments and condos, are we just saying 2 stories?
I think if it's apartments and condos, then yeah,
Well,
I don't want apartments everywhere.
I don't either, Timmy. I hear you loud and clear, but at the same time, I'd like to see that area get redeveloped.
I can't rule on.
And if it's limited to 1 story, I don't think it's gonna get redeveloped.
You can control it quality by density.
It's gonna be the same
Yeah.
building.
I can't redevelop in a bad way too.
Exactly, and that's.
Which is worse, if buildings were empty back there for the last 20 years, or if this was something that we really don't, like, which is worse.
Right, and I think if you go with a one story, that's what you're gonna end up with.
Even a two-story, I think that's what you're gonna.
So, all right, we're just talking about the Star Triangle.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
why.
We're just talking about the Star Trek.
Just Star Triangle for apartments and condos. Is it 2 to 3 stories?
2.5.
Okay,
2 to 3 max is 6 or 8.
okay. Does everybody agree with that?
Common apartments there, I agree.
Okay, this is.
I don't.
No, one's gonna put apartments.
Yeah, I
in
know,
with this.
I know.
What'd you say for height?
Again, just to
6
clarify,
density.
The height, oh yeah, that's real, yeah.
Star Triangle, you're saying 6 units per acre cap up to 8 units per acre with the bonuses because they gave something.
Yes.
And
2
then
to 3.
the max with the bonus would be 4.
No, 2 to 3. So two without the bonus, 3 with the bonus.
Stories.
Stories, anybody disagree with that? That's fine.
That's fine, I thought we had 3 to 4, but.
No, it was condos, not
Oh,
apartments.
got it.
Got it, okay.
This is gonna depend on what we also say.
Yes. So I'm just trying to get some of this stuff crossed
No,
out, guys.
great idea, Chris.
So.
I think you should put in there too, though, that regardless of the bonus, that they have to have outdoor amenities, they have to have a pool, they have to.
Right, we can
the
wrap
stuff
it
that-
all
Can you,
Yeah.
can you look at other ones, you know?
Yeah,
It's right now we require
exactly
minimum
what
roof space.
Yeah, there's this, they have a citywide, they have a citywide cap of 8 units per acre, and you can only exceed it if you do certain things.
Hey,
Very similar.
They're the experts at this, we'll let them come back to us.
Yeah.
I think, you know what, Neil's looking for a country club. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like those types of amenities, yeah.
Or just like, if you don't have those kind of amenities, you're not gonna attract the people that are willing to pay $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month for a condo or even a high-end apartment.
And I
The
think
apartments at
totally
Walmart
fair.
are about $2,000.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, so we
Right,
just,
they're-
we just
they're
covered
Walmart,
Meyer,
they're
we just
all
covered
$3,000 a
Star.
month.
Let's go,
Is it really?
let's go to Glenwood Hills, guys.
Really fine, aren't they?
The target area, Glenwood Hills, same question. All right, are we going to, our density right now is 6 to 8, we're gonna continue, are we going to allow residential in this area? Again, I don't expect a lot to change as what target is. Okay, so,
Glenwood Hills?
yes,
So residential, by it, the LMCU, office building, the Target, and
That's where
Yeah.
they're saying.
yes,
That's
all
right, the
the,
place for residential.
like,
yes.
Well,
Not a lot of space,
If we
except,
want,
right?
what kind of residential?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you zoom out,
we could-
zoom out just a little bit more. There's a parcel right here too, that's vacant.
that's a, oh,
Oh, it's a vacant lot.
I think it is.
If you go to Regis, there's a pie-shaped lot here, there's a pie-shaped lot here. Yeah.
Shared.
These two are owned by the same, this one, and this one are owned by the
Scott, we
same.
were gonna get a corporate headquarters, you remember which one that was?
Well, that was right here. They were gonna put a bridge over the road and build
Yeah.
this building out on this parcel.
Nothing ever came of it.
Lake Michigan.
No, who was the corporate headquarters, so I'm trying to think of the company who it was, it wasn't like Michigan, it was somebody else.
I thought it was Lake Michigan was gonna build that out.
I'll think of it, somebody who was using us to compete against downtown Grand Rapids. I didn't know why, for sure. I think it might have been, yes.
Oh, that's
You
good.
should have said that with the camera.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
So this is kind of that area where that like homeless encampment is behind the Aldi, like you see them, they're panhandling by the Costco sign and then they
Not,
head
No,
back
no,
where that
that's up
water.
over,
This is on the other side of the lake, unless they got kayaks, I think they're staying there.
No.
They're up there.
See, they go from the, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, back with the substation. I mean, one aspect of this stuff is trying to avoid creating areas like that are no man's land,
So,
do we want to keep all of this the same designation?
No.
Or,
3 designations.
no, I mean, this area in particular, because I almost think that this might even be 2 itself.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure you guys have a lot of opportunity for redevelopment here.
I don't think so either.
I think it's over here.
There's 3 lots and that's it.
Maybe that should be a hotel area.
Definitely the Glenwood Hills section is different than the Hotel Avenue section.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
Because one is offices and one is grocery stores or whatever, in hotels apparently.
I don't think there's really anywhere to build on Hotel Avenue, right?
I think there could be like a.
Well,
a
right
lot
behind the
built on
Target,
Something in the
if you
parking
look at,
lot, but-
right behind the Target, they just cleared all the trees out of there.
This, isn't this a common area for that?
No farther south than that, right, yeah, right there. All those trees are gone. I think so. Right there, yeah. It's almost like they're clearing it out to build.
That might be an expansion for this property though.
Maybe.
Or, oh, actually, they took all the trees out under the power line.
Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah.
So do we want to separate that for those three parcels and then kind of leave the other one as is? I don't think there's a ton of redevelopment, guys, and I think this will limit it if there is.
Like, we're separating the area that's.
Perhaps we are, I don't know that, the only reason to separate is if they're gonna be different. I might argue that do they need to be different, or if we stick to this 6 to 8 units, 2 to 3 stories, and multifamily residential offices, commercial mixed-use buildings. Like, can it not be all those things?
Could you zoom out just a little bit?
What's the argument for changing that?
I don't know that there is one.
So this way
That's my
slightly?
point. I just wanna try to knock all of this off.
Increasing the build.
Okay, so these guys right here, GE, they own this. They own this land behind Viant, right across here. Their parcel goes all the way to hotel.
Yeah.
So that is part of GE. And this is all part of Waterfall Shops,
It is original.
common area,
Yeah.
or what,
Is that GE retention thing too? I suspect it is.
I don't know. The retention is on Waterfall Shops.
Yeah.
It's not, because there's a hard
I
lot
just wondering
line.
if they're prohibited.
It doesn't look very buildable to me.
Yeah.
From the air, that looks like wetland.
That's the way it looks on here too. I don't think that's,
So that's for all the future apartments.
Good spot for them.
Right in the wetlands.
So does anybody have any, I wanna get to Centennial Mix. Is everybody good with this redevelopment? Now it will only be applicable to Glenwood Hills, which is 6 to 8 units, density, 2 to 3 stories, and then all of these land uses.
You know, typically we could allow houseboats back there.
Sounds good, Chris.
Okay.
Ownership, maybe.
Centennial mixed use is something similar without the mixed use buildings, right? So now we're saying that it will be multifamily, residential, offices and commercial, 6 to 8 units per acre, 2 to 3 stories. Scott said something earlier that I just want to bring up. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but these buildings, because we don't have a higher density, are there going to be people who are trying to figure out a way to make the buildings that are there work, which are going to start to look blighted as there's no longer a use for the office space?
That would be better, right?
I don't know, I'm asking the question.
I mean, potentially that would be better if that were to happen.
You would rather, so conversely, having them pulled down and saying, hey, you can put something back here, but it has to meet these requirements, that just as a thought. I don't know that's a good one, by the way.
If you want cool development, then you've gotta write this in a way that attracts somebody to come in with a proposal that has a really kick plan, right? If you make it very basic, well, we'll only allow 1-story apartments, then they're probably gonna come with a proposal to just remodel the 1-story building. It may be no frills proposal, and at the end of the day, your zoning has to be strong enough that you have a way to say no to it, and you may not be able to. It's kind of like if you have a guy come in on 28th Street and he wants to build a car wash, and you don't really think we need another car wash there. If your zoning doesn't have a way to say no, then the car wash is getting built. We don't get to pick and choose what's built in the commercial zoning district if the zoning specifically says that item is allowed. So we've got to be very careful in how we draft stuff, because you don't know what the ask might be. In that village, for instance, we don't allow drive-through restaurants in our village. So you're not going to get a request for a Burger King at the corner of 28th and Cascade because they want a drive-through with them. But you get outside of the village, that's a different story now. So I guess what I'm saying is we have to be thinking comprehensively about what we may allow or may not allow in that area, and make sure that we've got a place for it within the township so that we can legally say we don't want that there. And at the same time, make sure that, you know, we're enticing them with what we do want.
And for other ways to regulate that, like type codes and design parameters, building permits.
Right.
Make sure that we don't get that bare minimum.
And it is an overlay
Decent
district
rules.
already, so we could absolutely change, absolutely.
Requirements on it.
My concern is that Centennial Park 10 years from now looks like the Star Corner, or the Star Triangle.
So what if you said something like, if you wanna drop the building and rebuild something new, and it's a 2-story building and you put another 2-story up, you're fine. If you want an additional story, 3 stories, then you have to give us something.
Well, a lot of them are 3 and 4 stories, just keep that.
Oh, they are, okay. Well, then,
Star?
No, it's Centennial.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
A lot of those old foremost buildings are.
Right,
are tall.
they are. They're,
Cause I don't think that the Centennial area is gonna ever look like the Star area, just based on the shapes of the roads, the width of the roads, the grass, the trees. Like, the Star area is, it really,
Industrial.
it is concrete.
What's our vacancy? Does anybody know?
a lot of those offices in the last 10 years have been bought and remodeled, and new companies are using them. The problem is that since the pandemic, office space is obviously not in high demand, so they're.
It's more high demand, interestingly enough.
I think it should be
in these types
back,
of cities than like the coastal cities, right? At least that's what I'm seeing, right? The coastal cities, you can get office space cheap. In the Midwest, people are still making more for industrial.
I mean, I think people are coming back
The
in.
better the office space does.
Correct.
So if you're trying to commute into downtown San Francisco, yes.
Well, yeah, I look at where I now cheap office space, it was not the case 10 years ago. So my question is, what is our vacancy like in Centennial Park? Perhaps what I'm thinking isn't applicable. If we've done any studies like that, is perhaps that would be more helpful to us as we try to decide what the future use is.
Well, the developer proposing that had some numbers, I forget what they are, but they were trying to say they were getting higher. And I can check with the
Maybe that's what we
assessor
say, maybe
I know
we
too.
say, listen, if you wanna renovate, fine. If you wanna dump and rebuild, then you have to give us something. And you can't rebuild higher than it was.
Then always right, if they're knocking down the building, they don't just get to go back to floor if it was floor, they have to meet any new criteria that we have.
Right, but if they're dumping a 4-story building down, they can't go higher than 4-story. If they're dumping a 5-story building, they can't go higher than 5.
There's no incentive on the.
Aren't we trying to
taking the
incentivize
building
them
down.
to create a new
Well, sure there is.
space though?
What's that again?
Aren't we trying to incentivize them to build a new building with new space?
Right, that's what I thought they were trying to do.
We're not trying to push it the other way.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, sometimes the people come in and they're like, listen, this is a 1980s building. I don't wanna, I mean, it just doesn't work. It doesn't flow with the, and we can only remodel so much. It just doesn't. We're just gonna dump it and build new.
How do we know if we have a problem here that we're trying to solve for?
That's a good question.
Yeah, we can double check what those vacancy rates are. If you ask the property owners, they all said that, yep, we're struggling, we're worried, and so we'll check with,
I
we
wanna
can check with our
an expert
assessing
that
department.
isn't
and-
objective.
Can we get a vacancy rate on the Star area as well? I mean,
No, that's a very good point.
there's people working back there.
We can, yeah, we have ways of just checking vacancy rates, so we can get those numbers.
I think it would be smart to do that before we give you too much guidance at Centennial, because we don't have enough data to.
Because I don't want to use this guy's numbers because his incentive was to work his numbers.
Exactly.
That's kind of where I was going.
You wanted 16
Might not
people
be
per
right.
acre or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's why I'm not saying that would take.
18?
You wanted-
Pretty high.
It was a lot, it was like
30,
330
30,
units or
yeah,
something
30
like
units
that.
an acre.
Ridiculous.
35.
So, all right, the Boulevard mixed use, that is the 28th Street corridor itself.
We said reducing that to 2.5.
Yeah, I would say 2 to 2.5.
So right now it's 2 to 3, so we're gonna take that to 2.5.
2 to 2.5.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you could do 1 to 2.5.
And,
And we're hearing that's a hard cap.
I would say 1 to 2.5
Yeah.
is,
okay.
you know,
You
because
can just say.
maybe somebody doesn't want to do it.
Why?
just
So cap, cap,
Cap
cap
of 2.5.
Cap, 2.5.
2.5.
You can't skip the first one.
We wanna, when we redo the zoning, we wanna pull hotels out of that. No hotels.
Well, so you have hotels west of the highway in that district, maybe it's east of the highway.
No, we want those gone.
including the Drury.
Or you just say no?
Fine,
Yeah, I want it gone.
Yeah.
I'll take it down myself. You give me the green light, it'll be gone.
Have you noticed that like Walker's goals are so just opposite from most of Cascade goals, like,
If they wanna do some more.
It's called the Dreary for a reason. Dreary.
You're okay making it not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every hotel that is, I wanna make sure everybody agrees with this, because we're saying that every hotel that is on 28th Street, when we are done, will be non-conforming. Are you all good with this?
Yes.
On 28th Street?
On 28th Street.
I would also say on Patterson too, because that prevents the airport from putting a hotel on Patterson.
I think anywhere in the township but the Meyer area.
So, yeah.
And Hotel Drive, I think those are our two hotel areas.
Hotel
So
Avenue.
you already have industrial zone.
I still don't understand the thought process.
But they want.
Behind the hotels, behind the wire.
Now, what about,
Yeah, there's a hotel down in the.
the Four Corners?
On their land. But you're
Yeah,
right.
that's I'm pretty sure there's a lot.
Where's the hotel out there?
At the corner of 60th and East Beltline, there's two hotels there.
There's a hotel at the southwest corner of what?
So the southwest corner, that
Shit,
green,
up here.
purple, like green.
All right, let's stick to the 28th Street corridor. We're saying that the hotels are not conforming there. Is everybody in agreement on that?
So I guess the question is though, do we wanna also allow for hotels in this area, since we already have allowed a couple to be built here? That's what.
Where else we have?
Do you want to
We have a
say
hotel district.
any future hotels that are not in the district are also non-conforming?
No, there are no.
There are no future.
Okay.
You can't.
Good. Nice.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Future non-conforming.
I do recall from last month, there was, I think the consensus was that you guys liked the idea of requiring commercial on ground floor and boulevard mixed use along 20th Street. Do we still want to do that?
I don't like that. I don't like that you're requiring commercial.
What else would it be?
When you have an apartment, you can have a ground floor apartment.
On 28th Street, like frontage on
Well,
28th Street?
No, wait a minute. We were talking about that for apartment complex.
Yeah, but do we want to pull
It was for
multifamily residential out
residential
of 28th?
Residential, right?
I
I wanna
recall
pull
we
it out.
briefly talked
Yeah, I
about
don't
the idea of
disagree with-
allowing ground floor residential, but it would not be front.
Why not?
My concern is,
Yeah.
if we're saying that hotels are no longer allowed there, okay? What I'm envisioning is the old, just say an old hotel turning into an apartment building. And don't wanna see that happen either.
That's what I'm saying. Do we remove multifamily residential from that boulevard use? Like,
Well,
it can
but that's
only-
what I was
Yeah.
getting at earlier when I was told we had to have a legal opinion, because we can't say. I guess that's what I'm trying to
You can say
understand.
commercial, not residential. You absolutely can do that.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
But what you can't say is, I've built this housing unit, and you can't then prohibit the person from renting that housing unit.
Yeah, that's not conforming, but if they go to one of our changes, that's when they're,
Then yes, I say remove residential from the boulevard.
yeah, no residential.
And still 2.5.
Yes.
A max of 2.5.
Right, so you could have, commercial and office.
So we don't
And there
want to
are
allow
some buildings.
even
that
like
are
second
allowed.
floor residential. is not-
So, does this discussion take an airport hotel out again?
Just,
Somebody, if they wanna put a hotel up for travelers to Grand Rapids from parts unknown, to service those folks at the corner of 44th and Patterson, we're saying, no, you can't do that? Is that what?
Brian, what is that zone now?
AT Commerce zoning district, so that's a zone that doesn't allow.
And that does allow.
If, I said it'd be open to it, if we pushed it back in towards the airport. I don't want it right there in the corner. I want it
The
right.
access.
Put it back at the terminal, which is
runway
next to the
too.
city of Grand Rapids.
It is, yeah.
Put it back at the terminal, the guys don't have to done.
Yeah.
Put it right there.
But-
Brian makes an important point though.
And as far as access goes,
I think it's a certain hall.
That was the whole reason they made that.
It's one of those ones, 21st century airports.
Yeah. Because they built a hotel.
How are they, it used to be a hotel.
You don't.
How were they able to do that? We're in Charter Township.
I don't know if we were, or we
We
allowed
were
it.
at the time, that was process to become chartered, I think.
So Brian makes a good point, though. The corner of 44th and Patterson is already zoned for something that allows hotels. So it would be a multi-step process to take that away.
Well, that's my question.
Yeah.
So the intent wasn't to change that. So
I mean, I'm hearing consensus, actually, that you want to change it. I'm just saying that that is going to be hard.
I don't want a hotel there.
I think that it's going to be hard to do it on 28th Street too, but you don't have an imminent, like, person who wants to build a hotel on 28th Street that's going to get it in under the wire.
I think the difficulty is that the hotels are beating us up pretty bad in the sense of the crime and the expenses to our emergency services.
Well, it's gotten a lot.
And
We had to hire, we had to hire a sheriff, right? We doubled our sheriff because of this
Right.
one area.
And so it's very hard for us to get excited and say, that's a great idea, let's put another hotel there, when we're getting a lot of negatives.
Even
Yeah.
less than what you're suggesting. I think it's a 15-year now shelf life on these hotels. I mean, you know,
Well, I did.
yeah.
But I think a hotel that was built next to the airport is probably gonna be,
Renovated often.
exactly,
It is
it's
different.
it's probably not gonna be the first one to fall, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't make more hotels closer to 44th and 52nd rather than 28th.
The
I know
voters
you're
can't
not-
allow
I would know.
The boulevard mixed use, I just want to get this thing knocked down. So we are agreed 6 to 8 units, actually density doesn't matter because we're removing.
Yeah,
all-
there's no
Yeah,
residential.
no residential allowed anymore on 28th Street, 2.5 story max, commercial mixed use buildings only. Good with this? Yeah. Okay. Greenfield mixed use. So look at your maps, the greenfield really is, the bottom left.
The Meadowbrook.
Yeah. Okay,
Right, yeah, there we go.
Greenfield, a lot nicer than it is. Blackfield, Brownfield.
So Craft and 52nd, that square, right now we say height of 2 to 3 stories, we're allowing effectively everything, mixed family residential, commercial, light industrial.
That's what they're now.
It's a free for all.
Are we, I
That's what
mean,
we identified. It's all free for all. So we're trying to figure out what to do.
So I think
That's
it's
what I'm
down
talking
there.
about East Paris and Kentwood. Yeah. Just, there's a huge section of like Kentwood that kind of like this square mile.
so, but are we accepting of this because of where it is
Yeah.
located?
I think we are.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, so we are allowing hotels there, and I think that's what you said earlier, right? What do you think, Scott?
It'd be a good
Well,
place for
we
apartment
have-
complexes too.
We have
Five stories.
apartments there, we have hotels there, we've got a little bit of everything right there.
I mean, we could,
Apartment complexes, 5
Could we
stories.
donate that section of the township?
could we increase the stories?
Yeah, right.
I don't guess you want to do that with Star Drive, where people think it's Kentwood.
Can we get that part behind Home Depot on Patterson? Did anyone buy that yet?
No, I'm waiting for Menards to buy that.
Aren't the Pattersons still own that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sale, yeah.
I've been there for a while.
I don't want to
Back to the street.
They don't
still
want
live
it.
More than $1.
That's why it's not.
$5 million or something, I have no idea.
All right, so this purple thing, we're fine with. Do we want to increase how many stories? I think the airport was limited anyway, maybe.
You think so?
Do we want to increase the number of stories that are allowed? Like, there is a tax base without consequence because the airport blocks it in. So there's something.
I would industrial looking for it.
Okay, so maybe we go up to 5 stories in the,
But I would get something.
so 2.
Yeah, I think you limit it I think you do 2.5, but we're open to up to 5 with certain,
With concessions.
with certain concessions.
So basically, maybe we take the same system that we're gonna develop that goes 2, 3, 4 for everywhere else.
Yep.
And we go 3, 4, 5.
Hang on, everywhere else is only Star. We didn't.
Okay, so I'm sorry, so let me clarify this. So Star goes 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Glenwood Hills goes 2, 3. Centennial Park goes 2, 3. 28th Street goes just 2.
Yeah.
Right? And then down here in the southwest corner, that's where
Up to 5.
we're willing to go 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
And then we'll make it like the same, we'll make it the same criteria, so.
Same thing with density. I think we could go up to 15 on density.
Yeah.
With the height, right? And it starts with 6 up to 15 is different giving
Yeah,
levels.
you gotta time the density of the height,
Yes,
otherwise they're gonna cram them all in.
yes. Danny Elfman knows how to write that up, right? Like, the density is ties to height, so the scale's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want a bunch of 300 square foot apartments.
We care.
What's your current minimum,
Minimum.
minimum, dwelling unit size?
Yeah, I care.
Usually-
Actually, I'm not kidding, 15 years, so no, I don't care.
For 1,200.
Secret is 12 here.
No,
Yeah.
Although apartment.
Yeah, 8 is more.
No, not necessarily. Some of it's Caledonia.
Usually.
Single family home.
Over by,
We
we
right,
already
you know, we have,
is, Little Harbor, right there, like Little Harbor on 48.
Guys, we just knocked out all 4 areas.
Yeah.
Good on that. So,
Yeah.
Cascade Village.
We have beauty in the middle.
So they're saying we recommend the following policies and zoning changes. Extend the boundary further west.
That's
Oh,
for single family.
my gavel.
Chairman defeated.
Thank you. Congratulations, we hit all 4. Let's go into the Cascade Village. They recommend extending the boundary further west to encompass the D&W strip mall. I thought we talked about taking the village all the way to the highway.
Can't do that.
Can't do it?
Well, you could, but then you're changing, there's a whole lot of dynamics that change when you extend the village, because we don't, for instance, we don't allow drive-through restaurants in the village. Well, now if you go all the way to the highway, you've got drive-through restaurants.
Well, it doesn't.
So there's things that you would have to, I guess,
Perhaps
you're not
it would be
conforming.
Yeah.
Right, but I guess I'm saying is
Or
you
you phase it or something.
Yeah, so we already said this boulevard mixed use thing, which doesn't allow hotel. We can talk about upgrades there that pull you into the village that are not as strict as the village.
Okay, right.
So you're not, it's not that you, for instance, it's not that you prohibit drive-throughs, it's that we now have an architectural standard, and that corporate standard to be McDonald's, no. We wanted to have peaked roof that looked like the village, right? And if you don't like that, then you're not building here. But you have a drive-through, we can do that halfway point, so then we get to the village, you've got a nice transition from the highway, which is very intense.
McDonald's would do that, they've done it other places though.
Last
Yeah,
time we talked
if they
about
really wanna go there, they'll do it. There are,
Well, anyway.
there are companies that won't, but they will.
Are we good with that? We'll start at craft, start introducing these slight changes until we get to D&W, and that's where the village will start now.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to understand what's the pull for DW in the village?
If it gets
Kind of a
redeveloped.
nice boundary.
Yeah.
It's not far from the
Go ahead.
library.
Get there with that, extending it further west.
From the
car
wash,
to
Tommy to start.
Start
Friendship
that
Park.
transition
Oh,
development
right.
where that D&W strip.
Does everybody hear that? Like, I think that's really important. That's where we're gonna start the transition into the village, right? Go ahead.
The idea of pulling it further west was to start that transition development in the D&W strip mall, especially because there's a lot of empty parking space there. So that would be a prime opportunity for like an outlet development where you can have those high quality architectural standards. And then as you go further into the village, you're gonna have more of your like quaint, small, walkable village type of atmosphere akin to Gaslight Village. But when you get to D&W, it'll be a transition between 28th Street corridor and your downtown.
It is used for things that are village-like on occasion, like, so 4th of July, for example. I mean, the D&W property is close enough to the library and the parade route and everything like that to park there and walk everywhere else. It does make a good, like, village boundary, I feel like.
I agree.
Yeah, especially with, the library and all the civic and municipal buildings being right there across the street. And No-Dos and Fire and all those buildings.
And then when you go much farther west than that, like, people typically aren't walking from Meyer to, Frosty Boy. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It becomes more of a walk. Speaking of that, do we have like any statistics about the crime rate going down once the bus route stops going through 28? It seems like the panhandlers are gone.
We don't have that much time for it.
Right, it hasn't been enough time yet, but we probably get that from the sheriff's department eventually.
Okay,
I take that as a yes.
so we're good with Cascade Village, as they're proposing it, they're gonna put some mixed uses. On the map, as a reminder, we're gonna add cemeteries, we're gonna break out the 3 redevelopment areas, Star, Glenwood Hills, and, the Meyer redevelopment area. Utility service boundary, we're going to take to 96. Okay, the airport safety zones, you're gonna check the map and confirm that we have the latest one. Brian will permanent with Casey's, that checks that.
Real quick, we were also gonna move that, were we also gonna move the suburban residential, so it doesn't go past the utility service boundary?
Or at least not all the way to Cherry. You can
Yeah.
Definitely pull back from Cherry.
Because some of that's zoned R1 already, so it's probably
Just that one of that piece, right?
Well, it's not just one little piece, I mean, it's kind of like a big section, really.
I think this portion is R1.
No,
zoned
we're
already.
not in a public section.
No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, yeah, he's been
I was
texting.
waiting till
Okay.
he gets the
The
public
word is
comment
still
section
here.
to
He's been texting.
open it up.
I got,
Utility service line right here.
Yeah, I just feel like, why would the suburban residential go past the utility?
I just never the back is
Now,
responsible.
the suburban residential does, and
Was that?
we don't have it there either.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
You're saying,
Okay.
Keep that in the bottom wall.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so we have farmland preservation, I think we're good there. We just hit the density levels, we just covered the village. We talked about the map. What else are we missing, folks?
You're gonna get a legal opinion on.
Apartments. Condos versus apartments, which Brian will coordinate with Danielle on.
Was there a consensus on the suburban residential past the utility service boundary?
We said that we were gonna shore it up to Cherry, no?
We talked about something on Quail too, you guys wanted to circle that as a,
Oh, yeah.
we circled all of Quail as a.
A bigger circle. The bigger circle around the golf course.
Yeah, well, I
You want
want
to
to
circle
for all
first?
golf courses.
All golf, yeah.
There you go,
And then
big circle.
you want a circle that's in that airport area, as a park as well.
Bird and Cascade Circle.
Well, wait.
Okay.
When you say circle near the airport area, I think the area that you wanna target is actually to the south, right, closer to 52nd and Thorn Apple.
50 seconds.
That area is not currently in their rural preservation, public, semi-public area. It's just in the farmland area.
Again, when I asked the county why we don't have a park here, because you don't have anything in your master plan to give us an area.
So we are gonna encircle the whole golf course.
See the whole golf
Did we get
course.
a circle over by the forest and 50-second area, like that southeast section?
Then they know.
I mean, if we're gonna maybe make a new park or something.
It's
Yeah, I think it's actually.
Target is right.
It's doing the circle.
Well, yeah, they might be a golf course for 20 more years.
I don't know. I just know that they're currently farm. And they won't be farm forever.
Just like that, that's why we're.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about. This is where the fields are. This is where.
That's what we want. Just like there's nothing goes beyond the sheet. It's right. Yeah, you're certain. You gotta create it.
Like, what are we deciding right now? What happened?
FedEx Summit all right here.
yeah, no, I thought it was right down.
Right here we were talking about.
So much for
Like, that's 36th Street. when you come up.
We have a lot of time.
Oh, we're talking about what's happening.
I know that was.
Well, then you're looking at it.
I think
I think only people actually get a park, so they don't know because the airport only would get one. I'm not opposed to that. 52nd before, find some space. Down there.
If there's one, I'd say they have possible.
There's a lot of areas to choose from over there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no park over there right now.
That's why you find a lot, but if you do that,
I think
We had something going with those were public schools in Midway, Valley, like we have like first, right?
Yeah, and I understand we have.
Okay.
And we circled the east circle.
What do we have left for this meeting?
That's what I'm saying.
Are we done?
Danielle, tell me, Chris, what other feedback do you need from us?
I think we have good direction. For the next, sort of bring back next steps that are more fully fleshed out. Maybe we want to put that on, so that it's on next time, if there are any
think our current senior roads are slightly higher density because they're less traffic generated.
We also talked
We
about.
will, I mean, we can make it one of the points, right, like senior, condos.
Yeah, I mean, I think
senior
that.
Are we allowed to put a yellow circle around something that's not in Cascade, like what about that Patterson? Like,
It's not, it's our master plan, we can't put it to somebody else.
no, I mean, I know, but like,
Like,
Cascade could buy that and make that a
Yeah, I
park,
think
even
so.
though it's in Kentwood. Borders Cascade, right?
Yes, Ann Arbor does that. Ann Arbor buys land in neighboring townships, so people can't develop. Not
Like,
that-
we could make that a park, like, you're part of that park, theoretically.
Maybe hard to sell
Right?
priority.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, it would be hard to fit. Hard to, I think actually Ann Arbor has to be a village.
Oh, that's true.
All right, folks, I think
Depending on what that would become, like,
I think we're good. I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to push it forward. They have enough feedback to come back to us to do another one of these in a few weeks or months. What are we looking at, Brian? Chris, Danielle?
The meeting schedule wise, we have one on October 30 and then November 20.
I think we could probably take out one on that by the 30th,
You think?
or for that meeting.
All right, so
Is that a past agenda for formally?
No,
let's just use that one then.
we just have one at the beginning of December as well, so we just have 3 more for
we have
the calendar year.
2 in December,
2, what are the dates on those?
4th and the 18th.
For some reason I thought we got rid of the 18th one, maybe that was just my understanding.
No, we've got that still.
We could also add one in November.
We have 11th and the 20th of November.
No,
We have October 30, November 20, and then December 4 and December 8.
that was my point. We could add.
We can't be here on the 30th.
Do it at the beginning of the month.
No, that's my plan.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna move on, everybody good? We're gonna move on to Article 8. Does anybody have any old business? Hearing none. Article 9, any other business? Mr. Brunel, you're on deck. Any other business? Hearing none. Article 10, acknowledge business revisions.
Yeah, you got a hand up.
Oh, yeah, that's why I said we're gonna acknowledge it. All right.
No, I'm good. I don't want to add any more confusion. Thanks for letting me listen in.
Good, yes, sir. All right, I will at this time hear a motion. So moved by member Engel, supported by member Nordhook. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, good night, gentlemen.